Do you have that queued up that I sent you yesterday? I sent you a direct message with Monahan saying that you don't have to apologize for being on the PGA Tour. We need that audio.
Gotcha. Just a whole minute and 26 seconds?
No, the specific, listen, that's why I sent it to you. You got to listen to it. And at the end, he basically makes the comments. He and Nance, we can play the whole thing, but basically at the end of it, he says, there's never been a day where you've had to apologize for being on the PGA Tour. I will say that Guillermo, when he sent us the lawyer numbers, those are pretty, if he's, he is an attorney, that's some pretty staggering legal bills that could be adding up on this. See the tweet he sent us?
Do you think the Saudis care?
No, I think the PGA Tour does.
Yo, yo, yo.
The Rays and the Marlins, what we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Why is it sitting 402 now?
Game 3 of the NBA Finals is tonight. Come on, guys. I didn't see Koepka's tweet.
Oh, it was just the Chambly welfare check on Chambly.
And so I'm getting it now.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. As we get over the hump together. Man, what a time it is to talk sports. Miller and Moulton, how the heck are you? And that was meant for all the members of the PGA Tour. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark's got his golf shirt on today, so I know he's going golfing. Can't wait. Man, I would love to plant a bug on you and all the guys that you hang with, because not a single one of them ever wanted to have anything to do with the LIV. And so how are they going to rationalize this? Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, David. And I can't wait to find out. Tuesday, the course that I belong to in the summer is closed. So I didn't even go hit balls yesterday. I had no contact with any of them. I will see all the guys that have stayed for the summer at 11 o'clock this morning. And I cannot wait because last night my daughter spent the night at my mother's house. My wife had a busy morning. It was just going to be a little bit easier. How about last day of school? Spend the night with Grammy, and the wife can shoot out without any distractions this morning. My mother is a sports fan. She just turned 79 years old. Walked in the house, and right after hello, she just looked at me. She goes, "Well, I'm done." I said, "Excuse me?" "I'm done." Those greedy bastards.
Wow, I didn't realize your mom was one of the 9/11 families who have been protesting recently, because that's basically what they said, word for word, yesterday about the PGA Tour.
Mom's done. I don't know what the rest of the ECC crowd is going to be like at 11 this morning. But as you said, David, we've been talking about this. We've talked more about Live Golf than probably any show in the country.
We're done.
And you and I took a lot of heat from our listeners.
Yes.
For being supportive of a different tour, of at least understanding about it. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that David and I have long been obviously independent contractors, except for we're held under certain laws that if we're fired, we can't work. And we've never found that to be fair.
Right.
So when we approached this, we kind of looked at it from the same standpoint. They're independent contractors. Why can't they go play golf somewhere else?
Right. And we've never liked the non-compete clauses in our contracts, especially after we're done. Okay. And so we thought that what the PGA Tour was doing to the guys that jumped to the LIV, that we thought it was similar. And we took a lot of heat from you guys for it. I even worked behind the scenes on 3 LIV golf events, doing stats, the first 3 events a year ago at this time, the first 3 events in their history. Okay. I was supplying much of the information for the broadcasters. It literally was a 1-month assignment. I took the money. Trust me, my wife was not happy with me at all. Not happy with me.
I wasn't happy with you either because I was begging for a job.
It's because you're like, hey, do they pay behind the scenes people the way they pay their golfers? And I'm like, yeah, they do. They pay a lot more than tour networks do. As a matter of fact, they do.
Sign me up.
So, and as Paul in the Twitch chat room asked, did you get paid? Yeah, this was not the AAF. Okay. Now, this one had a little more legs to it.
But of all the things that I never expected to hear, at least in 2023.
Thank you. Thank you. In June of 2023, this was shocking. In June of 2025, after a long, brutal legal fight in which we see who was going to win, and especially if LIV had won in court, I don't know about you, Mark, I expected something like this sometime in 2025 if LIV was victorious in court.
Which they had not been at any point yet.
The only thing they had been successful at was getting the PGA Tour to have to open up their books. But the PGA Tour was also successful in court getting the Saudis to have to open up their books. Now, I would argue it's more damaging for the PGA Tour to have their books exposed. I mean, who do the Saudis have to answer to? Themselves. It's a dictatorship. The PGA Tour is trying to run a 5013C. The PGA Tour has to answer, in theory, to their members. I think it's more damaging if we had played that game for the PGA Tour. And I believe, Mark, that was one of the driving forces behind this. I really do. I think Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour said, we can't have our books exposed. I mean, it's bad enough Phil was right about everything. Okay, people have no idea how much Phil was right. We can't have our books exposed.
The only other theory, David, is that the PGA Tour was not nearly as flush with money as people think that they were. And that between legal fees, the added purses, trouble getting sponsors, that they were in a money problem.
Well, the funny thing, though, is that they brought the sponsorship problem on themselves. When you start elevating a dozen events and therefore downgrading 24 events, guess what? The sponsors of the 24 events are like, why should I have to keep forking out the $10 million plus that you need me to fork out for this 1 week? I mean, imagine how Valero felt for the Texas Open. Wonderfully run tournament, by the way. We know the people who run the tournament. They do a phenomenal job. Okay, the community supports it with big crowds. Title sponsors like, this ain't working for me. There's only 4 guys I know in this field. Honda left the East Coast event after this year. Why? It's not an elevated event.
And they have not replaced them yet. They're trying. There are some that are close, but it's not been done yet.
Adam points out on D-Day to really rub it in. I will say, if you and I were in the offices, and we probably would have supported this for business, and the details have not been finalized, but I'm guessing you and I would have gone along with it. We would have brought up all the concerns, but we would have said, well, from a business standpoint, this is probably the smart thing. I wouldn't do it on June 6th, though. I got to be honest. I mean, of all the days, I mean, this one and, December 7th and July 4th. I mean, I'd keep those 3 days out, pick any one of the other 362.
But the fact of the matter is that the rank and file, and not even the rank and file, the entire PGA Tour essentially found out on Twitter yesterday.
Yes, they did.
And that's a fact.
Also throw in, obviously, September 11th. So, they got 361 days to choose from, and they couldn't even choose that right. But, yeah, I don't think he survives. I don't. I don't see how the top players basically, Mark, look at him and say, yeah, I can't see your face anymore. Honestly, I can't. I can't hear your voice. I can't see your face anymore. The deal is done. We're stuck with it. We're going to have to, and financially, we're going to make out great. But, I can't. I mean, Mark, this was a bitter divorce proceeding. And at the very end, we want to hug it out and make nice. I mean, don't you, at some point at the end of the bitter divorce proceeding, somebody in the proceeding, you go, yeah, I think I'll sign off on this, but you got to go. I don't ever want to see you again.
Yes, to a point. I mean, usually you don't get rid of dad when he takes mom back, if you know what I'm saying. That's why the kids have all decided we don't want you back, Dad.
Well, that's what the kids have decided. The kids have decided apparently mom's going to keep you around. That doesn't mean we have to. Just so you know.
The cheating you just did, I can't forgive.
Right. Don't know what to tell you. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Stay out of my life. Mark, if I'm Rory McIlroy this morning, I think I might want Greg Norman as commissioner before Jay Monahan. Honestly, I really feel I don't know how he survives. In fact, I'll have no respect for the PGA Tour players if they let him survive. Honestly.
Well, by all accounts, 90% of them want him gone based on last night's meeting in Toronto, to which when people called for his removal, they were getting standing ovations in the players-only meeting with the commissioner.
Rory's having a presser today because he's the defending champion of the RBC. Rory, please don't hold back today. I'm begging of you. Don't hold back. Don't. Apparently, whatever this merger is going to look like, it's going to look like beginning next year. But there are a few things that I really wonder about this year. Like if you're the USGA, can you turn around now at the last minute and offer Taylor Gooch a special exemption to the U.S. Open? I mean, you changed one word in your rules requirements to specifically keep him out. And that was your way of siding with the PGA Tour versus LIV. Well, now what was the point? I mean, that's the only thing that both Opens did. The R&A did nothing different. They changed nothing. The USGA changed the wording as to the requirements. And it used to be if you were qualified for the Tour Championship, then they made you, instead of qualify, participate. And because he had declared for LIV, he didn't participate in the Tour Championship. So Taylor Gooch is out of the U.S. Open. And by the way, they changed the wording after he could get in the paperwork to begin the qualifying process for the U.S. Open. So they stuck it to him. One guy. Do they make amends? What does the DP World Tour do now? First off, do you give Henrik Stenson his Ryder Cup captaincy back? We know they won't, but apparently this is all a charade. And do you let the Europeans, are they all, hey, if you want to pick Stenson, you want to pick Sergio, why not? This was
or
all
are they
going
to try to play a charade and say we're going to wait until next year when everything's merged, which would be even more of a farce?
Well, especially since it's not like the U.S. team is going to. I mean, Koepka at the very least is going to be on it, if not DJ also. Man, we're just getting started with this sucker. Whoo-wee! Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market?
Hello,
Look
friends.
no further. Here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Paul, don't laugh. Have no idea. Have no idea if that television contract now is done or if it continues. We have no idea if the LIV is going to continue to run as a full tour just under the PGA Tour umbrella or what. Are there events going to get, grabbed in under the PGA Tour? Steve, Mark Lies on the show at 8 o'clock. We had Mark Live booked by 10:30 yesterday morning.
I'm guessing he was on the call.
Who?
Mark Lai, he's still a PGA Tour member. He can get on that conference call yesterday. There's plenty of people that were on that meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to ask him.
All right, you want to play Monahan's comments here with Nance? Or do you want to hold that for 7?
And I would ask...
It's a year ago at the same tournament.
Right.
We're done.
The same tournament.
He's got get away from the top speed.
Don J, you and I were thinking the exact same thing. I raced out of this condo, got in my car, drove around for an hour and a half yesterday listening to PGA Tour radio. Running errands, listening to 2 different shows, listening to see who had completely flip-flopped on a dime and who was still sticking to their guns.
Oh, Chambly was fun to watch.
Michael Collins in the afternoon when Chambly first appeared on the Golf Channel said, he looks like he's been crying. Jack's a capitalist.
Yesterday was the first time I've missed Sirius Radio since I got rid of my subscription probably 3 months ago.
I'll give PGA Tour Radio credit. The first golfer I heard them interview was Brendan Steele. He's on the LIV tour. They called him up, and he's like, "Yeah, this is interesting." But they asked him, and I don't know if I'll say this on the air or not. They asked him, Mark, is there anything that you've really missed, on the PGA Tour that now you're excited that you'll be able to, experience again and what have you? And he said, outside of playing the Zurich with Keegan Bradley, no. I love the LIV. I love everything about it. And he goes on to talk about, you guys are all making fun of the team concept. He goes, it's a big reason why I love it. He goes, we're like back in college again. We all golf together. We dine together. Our caddies are with us. He goes, it's the best time. He goes, and not only that, it takes pressure off me. If I'm struggling, I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about how I'm impacting the team.
Yeah, that's where it broke, Paula. That's where it broke. That was the
CNBC broke.
CNBC broke the story. Golf Channel only played the interview 7 times yesterday.
Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Let's get over the hump together, shall we? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We figured we'd be talking a little bit about Game 3 of the finals. They're tied at a game apiece. People are watching, by the way. Ratings are good. Thought maybe we'd be talking about, I don't know, Rays and Marlins keep winning. Arise is hitting over 400 now. That hasn't happened in 15 years, by the way, a major league player hitting over 400 in June. But, whatever. We'll get to it, I guess. But Elliott's going to be on the show. Seth Everett will make his weekly appearance. Mark Lai at 8 o'clock for those of you that are asking, because we got some golf news. I say it's the biggest merger in the history of sports. Or put it this way, not biggest, most controversial.
I'll take that.
Even more than AFL, NFL, even more than NHL, WHA, even more than NBA, ABA. I think this was the most contentious because none of the other three could throw in the September 11th factor. So I don't know how that card, could have been replicated.
The quote that Monahan gave that I really want to follow up questions with him is, she says, I understand the criticism. For me, you take the information you have at the time and you make decisions in the best interest. Things have changed. This was the right time to have this conversation. What information do you have now that you didn't have?
Well,
information, not money. What information?
Sponsors telling him we're leaving because their name's associated with the inferior events. And I mean, remember, was it a month and a half ago? Was it a couple weeks after the Masters or was it before the match play in Austin? I don't know if that was late March or if that was late April. Thought it was April. But I mean, they were angry at the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour had taken the match play off the schedule. They had a terrific venue. They had a community that was all in supporting it. They had an Austin-based major company that was like, yeah, we don't care, whatever the price is. This is our big thing. We're all in. And the PGA Tour was like, nah, we're getting rid of it. And it didn't sit well with a lot of people who didn't even like the playing in the match play. But they're just like, this doesn't make any sense. We got a course, we got a community, we got a sponsor. Money's not an object. We got a network who televises it. What's the problem? We're dropping events like this. So I think there were just a lot of issues. And I contend, listen, they didn't want their books exposed. Here's what I want to know. They specifically in their announcement, Mark, said this was now going to be a for-profit venture.
But they're keeping the 501c3 or C6 status, I think is what they have.
Right, but the PGA Tour is going to remain a not-for-profit organization. So the Saudis are going to get money? I mean, that's basically what they announced yesterday. That, hey, you know, the profit part of this company, that's going all to the Saudis. Yeah, we're the PGA Tour. We don't make any money. Even though we came up with about $400 million overnight for these elevated events and, you know, increased purses and, you know, the PIP fund, you know, based on popularity, we'll just throw you a bonus check. I mean, maybe Phil knew what he was talking about when he said they got $800 million lying around. Not bad for a not-for-profit. So how much of an apology is Phil Mickelson owed?
From the PGA Tour? From the media? I mean, where do you want to start, David?
Well,
because
you could pick any group you want here. The tour, its players, the media, on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. I'm thinking it's about a 46 on the apology scale.
And the hatred towards him in the golf media, because this was obviously brought up. I watched a ton of Golf Channel yesterday. And every time they brought up Phil, they still tried to knock him down.
Right. Well, of course, it makes them look bad. They've just spent a year and a half making him a human piñata. And he's been right about 90% of everything he said.
I subject my wife to watch a lot of games. I don't make her watch a lot of Golf Channel news, if you know what I mean.
Oh, that's good.
But last night she was forced to watch Golf Channel news. And even my wife, just after every guy talks, she just looked at me. She goes, certainly seems that person doesn't like Phil very much. That was our common thread last night. You give me us on a scale of 1 to 10 of how much this guy hates Phil Mickelson. And nothing was under a 5 for the entire about hour and a half that we watched.
Well, I think it can now be clearly said, whether you hate Phil or not, he certainly is on the Mount Rushmore of most influential golfers of all time. I mean, it's Arnie, it's Jack, it's Tiger, it's Phil. And I actually think if you really want to drill down, Phil Mickelson may have now changed golf for better or for worse, but he may have changed the PGA Tour financially and otherwise more than any golfer in the history of the sport, including Arnie and including Tiger. And I'm just trying to figure out when he gets one of those network broadcasting gigs now, because that sucker's coming. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard this news. I go, well, in the next 3 to 5 years, Phil now can go to the booth. Both networks wanted him, and now there's a road to get Phil in the booth. I mean, really, Trevor Immelman or Phil Mickelson on the back nine at Augusta. Seriously? Come on now.
Yeah, it was a bad day. It was a bad day for Trevor Immelman. It was a horrible day for Jay Monahan and Brandel Chambly. That was rough. But you're peeling an onion back a little ways going, where does this end? How does this
Our buddy Azinger's like, well, I thought I had 2 contracts left. I may only have 1. You know, one of those deals. Yep.
21,000 is the text line.
Where do you want to go with poll questions? You know the one I wanted. Who do the PGA Tour players want as commissioner now? Jay Monahan, Greg Norman.
I think it's a funny question. And if we're going to do multiple questions, that's great. I like people to vote on the poll question. And since these two guys that you talked about are so despised right now, people would not even vote.
By the way, let's rewrite history on behalf of Greg Norman. 30 years ago, he wanted to do a world tour. Do you know what the PGA Tour did? They completely badmouthed him, then stole his idea and created the WGC events. Nearly 30 years later, he gets behind this. What has the PGA Tour done? Well, hell, they adopted 80% of what the LIV was doing and then brought them in under their own umbrella. And yet he's the bad guy.
Right. He's out of a job. You know, that was the one thing everybody got. Well, Greg Norman's name's not appearing in any. Of course not.
Right.
But
Checks
he's
in
getting,
the
don't
mail.
worry. Greg Norman got a big check from the Saudis when he walks away.
Damn right he did. Damn right he did. Greg will be walking shirtless on a beach, either in Florida or Australia later in the week. He'll be fine.
Doing push-ups.
Right. Sending out a tweet going, "Hey, Rory, how's your week going?"
Brooks Koepka with a 4-word tweet yesterday. Welfare check on Chambly. That's all it was. It's all it took.
Michael Collins on PGA Tour Radio said, "Hey, I just saw Brandel Chambly on TV. Looks like he's been crying."
We'll get a poll question up to the starting five. Mark Lai on the show today at 8 o'clock to discuss the LIV PGA merger. Wonder what he'll have to say about this. Bud Elliott to talk some college football in our weekly chat with Seth Everett as well. All upcoming, but the starting five, that's next right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That poll question is going to have 90% neither. You don't put neither on there. You don't put neither on there.
But that's what's funny about it. Everyone's going to vote neither. That's the point.
No. The point
That's
is
not the point.
The point is to
Correct
make them
opposite.
choose. Right. The point is to make them
Don't
choose
make it easy. That's why I
between
didn't
two evils.
because no one's going to vote on it.
Okay, so you want me to... Okay. I'm
If
tweaking.
you're going to throw that out there, you have to take neither off and just have the two choices. How about this poll question? Now that the LIV and PGA Tour have merged, who's next? A, Republicans and Democrats. B, Big Ten and SEC. Okay. And we could just, C, dogs and cats.
I like where you're headed.
I don't know.
I'd just like to ask people if they're going to watch more or less golf.
Totally.
That's what I'm actually interested in what people have to say without it being. I mean, I'm fine with the jokes, and the jokes are fun. I love them, but I'm fascinated with what people have to say today. I really am. I'm so curious of what we have a huge golf audience between Tampa, St. Pete, and Fort Myers, Naples. Huge.
Listen, you don't have to post any of these funny poll questions. Like Felipe, you don't have to post, Norman. I'm just that that's material. It's funny. We don't have to post it as a poll question. If we post one poll question, Mark, it could be, is this merger going to affect your golf viewing? And by the way, some people actually missed some of the guys that were on LIV. Some people actually like DJ and Koepka and Phil.
I do like the who's next question.
I like it's fun banter. It is.
Yeah. We don't have to post that question, but I mean, we could have fun with it. By the way, is the play of the day Jay Monahan from last year at the Canadian Open?
Man, that guy.
I understand some people are calling me a hypocrite. Some. I'd like you to find 5 who aren't.
I would be doing everything I could do right now to have the QBE shootout be PGA versus LIV.
Well, they already changed that, though.
Oh, that's right. They brought the women in.
Yeah.
Which is great. Could end the President's Cup into an LIV.
Well, we had said that. I mean, remember when Phil, like 2-3 months ago, he made the statement in which he said, if we had a President's Cup-like tournament between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, we'd smoke them.
And RCB, you're not. That's kind of why I want that poll question out there, because I know there are a lot of people that are listening right now that don't watch or pay any attention to golf whatsoever. I'm hoping that they find the story at least interesting.
Paul, I'm going to try to fit in this golf in the starting 5. I waited like 5-6 minutes before I text you yesterday because I'm like, wait a minute, I got to make sure this is real. And because remember, nobody's got a blue check mark anymore. So, you see it on Twitter and you're like, well, I don't know if this is legit.
And then unreliable sources have blue check marks.
And so once I realized, wow, this is for real, that's when I text you.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. The show will not be all golf. Bud Elliott joins us in an hour. People like Bud Elliott. He's really good at what he does, which is talk college football. Seth Everett will join us in 2 hours. Seth's got an opinion or two about this. And you know who's got an opinion about this? Mark Lai. And he'll join us at 8 o'clock, and he may even be joining us for 2 segments.
Oh, you can write that down. As long as he'll stay, I don't want him going anywhere.
Well,
I don't know how many questions we'll get in one segment.
Well, the first Q&A could be Brando-esque. It could be, hey, Mark, how you doing? And that could be 5 to 7 minutes right there. But when he comes up for air, I think we'll cover a lot of ground. So, that's what we got coming up. But first, it's time for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Hey, you're not going to believe this, but the PGA Tour and the LIV merged. Throw in the DP World Tour as well. Yep, it's going to take effect next year. That's what we know. Whole lot of Saudi money is coming into the pot now. That's what we know. And all the players that have been banned from their respective tours apparently are going to have an, quote, opportunity to return, unquote, next year. Okay. Don't know. We don't know a lot of details, though. We don't know what the schedule is going to look like. We don't know. LIV still going to have their 14 events running, parallel to. We don't know, are the golfers immediately going to be reinstated? They're going to have to pay fines, still sit out some more. We do know Rory McIlroy's having a presser today in Toronto because he's the defending champion of the RBC Canadian Open. Rory has been the face and the voice of the PGA Tour in their fight against the LIV. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan had reportedly, quote, a tense, unquote, meeting with players yesterday that lasted over an hour. And by tense, okay, apparently they verbally gutted him like a fish.
Calling for his resignation, and when it was called for, receiving standing ovations from the other golfers in the room.
Well, my question is then, this is supposed to be the Players' Tour, correct? Even though he negotiated the deal without talking to any of the players, if you look very closely in the press release yesterday, it does say, pending tour board approval, period. What if, for the heck of it, Mark, they just say, no, you know what? No. So there. We'll talk more about this in a bit. There was a lot of other things that happened in the sports world yesterday that are pretty interesting. Not all of them good. Jacob deGrom, I have no idea when we're going to see him pitch ever again. He blew out his pitching elbow for the second time. He actually did it coming out of Stetson in 2010. Had Tommy John surgery then. That's why he was kind of a late bloomer. But deGrom was 34. He's facing Tommy John surgery. There's no guarantee he'll even return next year at any point in time. So Jacob deGrom's career is very much in doubt. The Rays are not in doubt. They're really good. They keep on winning. They beat the first place Twins 7-0 at home yesterday. Look, Raley and Siri homered. Zach Eflin shut out Ball into the 7th for his 8th win of the season. The Marlins keep winning. Oh, they're playing the A's and the Royals. It helps. 5 in a row. Arise with 2 more hits. He's hitting .401. Marlins scored 5 in the 5th. BKC 6-1. Mark, with Pittsburgh losing to Oakland, snapping the A's 15-game road losing streak, and Milwaukee rallying to beat Baltimore 4-3-10, the Brewers are back in first by a half a game in the NL Central. Baltimore now 5.5 back of the Rays. Yankees 7.5 back after losing to the White Sox 3-2. Oh, yeah, Aaron Judge, after that great catch Saturday in Los Angeles, turns out he hurt his right big toe. It's bruised. He's got some ligament damage. He's going on the 10-day IL. Hey, he's a big guy. It's a big toe.
Sergeant Hulka will not be happy.
No. Boston, 4 in the 8th, beat Cleveland 5-4. Toronto hit 3 homers. Jays have won 5 of 6. They beat Houston 5-1. Arizona's in first in the West. They doubled up Washington 10-5, while the Reds scored 3 in the 9th to beat the Dodgers 9-8. The Braves and the Mets played. So it's really just a matter of what was the Braves' winning score. Turns out it was 6-4. They rallied from a 4-1 deficit in the sixth. Schwarber led off the game with a homer for the Phillies, and that's all they needed. They beat the Tigers 1-0. Texas, despite DeGrom news, Marcus Simeon's hit streak's 25. He had the go-ahead hit in a 6-4 win over St. Louis. Giants get to 500 with a 10-4 win over Colorado. Angels got another homer from Ohtani. They beat the Cubs 7-4. And Seattle's back to 500 mark. They beat the Padres 4-1. Game 3, NBA Finals tonight. Series tied at 1. Denver a 2.5-point favorite. Nuggets are 4-3 on the road in the playoffs. The Heat were 6-0 before losing the last 2 home games in their series with the Celtics. 8:30 8:30 ABC. Tyler Hero has been ruled out. He's back working out, practicing, although not with the full team. Ruled out for Game 3. It's a game-by-game thing. College Softball World Series. They're down to the finals. Third-ranked Florida State against top-ranked Oklahoma. Sooners are 59-1. They've won 51 in a row. It's a best 2 of 3. It begins tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN. French Open, men's side. Alcaraz and Djokovic both won yesterday. I was wrong. I said they didn't meet to the finals. Turns out they meet in the semis on Friday. By the way, the last American left in Paris, Coco Gauff, taking on the top seed Swiatek in the women's quarters later today. Staggeringly good news in the NFL yesterday. Damar Hamlin, a full participant in Bills practice. I got to admit, Mark, I sat back. I actually had tears in my eyes. No exaggeration. I was working on a mass text to a bunch of us on the Monday Night Football crew and decided against it. But if you were never mind what all of you were experiencing at home on January 2nd when Damar Hamlin was dead on the field for a few minutes. But to be in that stadium and to realize that 5 months and a week later, he's a full participant in practice. It
Absolutely
really
amazing. It was chilling, to say the very least, in the best way.
It got to me yesterday. It really did. Little bit of soccer news. So apparently it's down to returning to Barca or Inter Miami for Messi. Apparently the MLS, they've gotten together and they put their best offer together and they've got it in front of Messi. The word is Messi wants to return to Barca. But if not, it looks like the fallback's the MLS. And by the way, I don't know if you heard, but the PGA Tour and the LIV merged yesterday. And they ended all legal proceedings against the other. That's it. The lawyers will be paid by Friday. And at 13 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
There are still dozens of unanswered questions
At least.
with this merger.
There's not that many questions that are answered, David.
No, it goes into effect next year. That we know. We know the Saudis are going to continue to throw a bunch of money into golf. I don't know. And the one fact that came out of yesterday that was most surprising to me, Monahan was asked, when did these talks start? He said 7 weeks ago. So sometime in mid to late April. Does Koepka and Phil finishing T2 at the Masters have anything to do with this? Or is this strictly money, the lawsuit, sponsorships, etc.? I don't know. Don't know if we'll get a straight answer ever.
I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer. But I don't think it has to be one or the other, if you know what I mean. I don't think it has to be, was the PGA Tour going broke between legal bills, sponsors going away, these elevated events? Were they scared about their books being opened? Or could it be just a combination of both? Because financially, we all know that the Saudis could have lasted as long as they wanted in this. They could have dragged this out and kept emptying the pockets of the PGA Tour from a legal standpoint.
I don't like Jay Monahan's chances to continue as PGA Tour commissioner, but I will tell you, if and when he gets fired, if I'm the State Department, I have to seriously consider like the Secretary of State job. Think about this. Not a peep. Not a word. 7 weeks they were talking. He apparently trusted one other person on his side. One other guy. No, I'm sorry, two. Two other guys, apparently. Who knew on the PGA Tour side? 3 guys. None of them golfers.
Well, the
So
golfers
as to-
would have never kept their mouth shut.
Well, that's just it. Now, on the Saudi side, and by the way, the guy who's, I don't know what his title is,
The governor of the
whatever
fund there.
Yeah, Rhode Island, whatever. He's now apparently going to be on the PGA Tour board. I tell you, I want to be on these meetings. I really do. If you're the Golf Channel, don't you want to televise the Tour Advisory Board meeting? I want to gavel and everything. It's come to order. I want them to dress in the wigs, make it like the House of Commons.
You want Well, that's what I think the meeting was like yesterday in Toronto. I think there was a lot of that. Rah, rah,
rah. 470. Rah, 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 rah. So there you go. Listen, there was a chance. Everybody's like, oh, well, this was obviously going to happen. Mark, I thought this was obviously going to happen if the LIV won in court. I thought there was a chance if they went to court next year and the PGA Tour won that. No, actually, I thought there was a chance that everybody who went to the LIV Tour would never be seen on a golf course again.
No one was watching their tour. Nobody. They had some nice crowds at a couple of events, but that doesn't matter. There was nobody watching their events. No one hell knew how to find the damn things. It was on the CW, for crying out loud. As one tour member said, this tour was dying and we threw him a life jacket.
You didn't throw him a life jacket.
No, you threw him a boat. Your boat. You jumped out of your boat and said, here, take ours, and we'll just lay around and wade water for a while.
You pulled up in the QE too. What, are you kidding? A lifeboat? Hey, we're going on spring break. You want to come? We got room. Bring your booze. We got all. Sure.
Shocked and angry is how the PGA Tour players feel today. We'll get more from them all day long. They'll start talking at some point. Not many talked yesterday.
Rory's got a presser today as the defending champion in Canada. Don't hold back, Rory. I beg of you. You know what? It's probably good they're north of the border. Could you imagine if they were like in the New York metropolitan area, what the crowd would be like this weekend? Oh, my goodness. It's probably good because the Canadians, they'll behave. This is their national event. It's a really big deal to them. I don't think the crowd's going to be unruly or anything like that. Think Monahan sticks around for the weekend? Think he does another interview with Nance?
He almost has to. I don't know if he will, but when we come back, we'll give you some of the best of Jay Monahan from a year ago to tell you what he's up against going forward.
What is this, a roast on Spike TV? The best of Jay Monahan?
I'd watch that show. I'd watch that show, David. We will get an actual poll question up at some point.
We just don't know. We've got 17 of them. We're trying to narrow it down.
But when we come back, Jay Monahan a year ago with Jim Nance gave a hell of a quote.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, this Saudi money really is crazy because you know how there's like a Saudi soccer league that signed Ronaldo to a stupid amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
They just signed Karim Benzema, who's one of the best footballers on earth, to a 3-year, $643 million deal. He's set to make $215 million this year. That's almost as much as the NFL team salary cap. I can't believe Benzema's leaving Real Madrid, though. That's crazy.
643 million.
That's, I mean,
Felipe, I might leave my family for 643 million. And you're going, I can't believe he left Real Madrid.
well, I mean,
643 million for 3 years.
actually, you know what?
In fact,
Benzema,
Felipe, if I said to my family, listen, I have an offer on the table. You're going to have to not see me for 3 years. But when I come back, I'll come back with 643 million. They'd look at me and go, get the hell out of here. I love you, but get out.
I actually can believe it now that I think about it because he's 35.
I could believe it at 22.
I was going to say.
It's
No.
nearly $750 million, Felipe.
Even after taxes. Okay, even if it's heavy European taxes, he'd still clear $100 million a year. My family might actually need me now because of our situation, but I don't know. They might.
You can
Think
send
about-
money to help that
I was
situation.
gonna say. I had a 3-hour shift yesterday with the 1-year-old. Let me tell you, last half hour of that shift.
I've got to find it. My grandfather was a writer. He wrote a few articles on me, but when he put himself in the babysitting Hall of Fame, it's laugh out loud funny.
That's awesome.
That's what made me, it's about that age when he wrote the article on me.
We got a minute. And I'll just say this. I say that whole age thing just because, like, I don't know if you know who Erling Haaland is. I don't think Haaland is 23. He'll never pull a stunt like that.
Yeah, the LIV and PGA Tour will never merge.
But he wants, I think what he wants more is greatness. And you can't really achieve greatness playing in a not so competitive league.
But once you achieve it, then you go take the check.
Right, which is what Benzema did.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo.
And maybe Messi. Who knows? Probably not, but we'll see.
God, I hope
He's going to get a check from the MLS if he comes.
Yep.
Not like that.
No.
But hey, Miami's prettier. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton, one of those days in which the producer and the sports talk show host, they bounce out of bed when the alarm clock goes off. They run to the microphone. Can't wait to do today's show. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott's going to join us in 35 minutes to talk about the impending merger between the Big Ten and the SEC. I mean, why not? After yesterday,
what's off the table is what you're telling us.
There's not much that can't happen. I mean, seriously, what will shock you now? Although I got to tell you, Republicans and Democrats coming together on anything of substance, that would shock me.
That would shock me as well, David.
Right. And it would shock them too. All right. But seriously, I mean, you might as well start talking about the Big Ten SEC merger. Greg Sankey is Jay Monahan. And Nick Saban going, I didn't know anything about this. Yeah, it's a lot of money, Nick. It's a lot.
I will say the Big Ten did as good of a job with their announcement of USC and UCLA. They kept that under wraps.
They didn't even tell their own commissioner. He was vacationing in Europe. It's like, wait, what?
And I think Paul is closer. He says it'd be more like an SEC-ACC merger. And actually what it would be more like is an SEC Sunbelt merger with where the Live Tour was.
Right. Sunbelt Conference USA, something like that.
Right. The AAC.
Right. So many unanswered questions. I guess we'll get more answers today and tomorrow and really throughout the year. I mean, they got a lot of details they got to work out. I mean, they basically, this is a piece of paper, Mark, that says, okay, we're going to merge. Sign here. Well, what are the details? We got to work it out.
Well, yesterday and today was the day when it was announced the NFL-AFL merger. It didn't happen for a few years after that, but it was announced. They're going to get this done in reasonably short time. I mean, they have to have all their ducks in a row here, I would imagine, in the next 3-4 months. And they've got nothing. other than an agreement in principle. But Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, is a hypocrite. And there's no two ways about it. We all know it. I'll prove it to you right now. Here's Jay Monahan 1 year ago, the RBC Canadian Open, sitting next to Jim Nantz in the booth, talking about Live Golf.
And I would ask, any player that has left or any player that would ever consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?
Playing the 911 card.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, he had talked about being close to two families that lost family members in 9/11.
Yes. I will say, which is fascinating, the two people that Jay Monahan trusted, apparently his circle was two guys. One of them's a business guy. The other guy, lost family members on September 11th. And yet was instrumental in brokering this deal. Mark Lai coming up in less than an hour, by the way. Hoping to do 2 segments with Mark Lai.
What if, David, they want Monahan to resign, which they do as PGA Tour commissioner, but the new for-profit group hires him as their CEO?
And he could be their representative on the PGA Tour board?
Right.
I honestly don't know how he survives this. If I'm a PGA Tour player, to save face, first off, I'm so angry at him if I bought in to the crap that he was selling for the last year and a half. I mean, to realize how quickly this all went down, the very first LIV event was a year ago at this time. It was the first weekend of June in London. This hasn't been 3 years. It hasn't been 2 years. Phil's quotes came out 18 months ago. I mean, had anybody really taken this whole thing seriously before Phil's quotes? I mean, it was the beginning of 2021, or 2022, when Phil's quotes were put out there. Which also, he was right about that too. There are a bunch of scary blankety blanks. Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're using money to buy their way into the mainstream world. And this just it's working. All over the world. It's working. I mean, Mark, I will say this. It's not like there's a European soccer fan that could say anything.
Oh, no.
I mean, they're buying teams, for goodness sakes. So, if you haven't abandoned the, European soccer, you can't abandon golf. And that's really where we want to get to now.
If you're an F1 fan,
yeah,
they're super involved in F1.
By the way, they're allowed to invest in the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball also. They're allowed to invest. Now, I don't believe they have any money invested in Major League Baseball or the NHL. But the NFL and the NBA have both said, yeah, we'll take their money. Don't know how they're going to. I mean, I could see them getting involved in the NBA before the NFL, but
I'd like to hear from our listeners today. 21,000 is the text line. You can join us, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, and join us right in the Twitch chat room. Same with YouTube and Facebook, for that matter, where we broadcast every show. Are you going to watch less golf?
Like Brian in our Twitch chat room said, golf really blew it yesterday. It sounds like, so did they lose you, Brian? Are you done? Are you Mark's mom? I'm done with golf. I'm not watching it anymore. I'm done. Then Deadstruck just in our Twitch chat room. I'm going to watch more now.
And there's a lot of you that didn't watch before, won't watch now. I get it. It's golf. But we haven't had a merger in what?
ABA, NBA was mid-70s. NHL, WHA was late 70s. It's been almost 45 years since we've had a major merger in this country in sports.
And how will this change golf? We will see. Does Live Golf go away? Are they still going to have events? How does the team concept enter its way into the PGA Tour down the road?
Well, it is, if you're into this at all, and this is a little nooks and crannies here, man, the LIV golfers are all in on the team thing. They genuinely really like it. They find it fun. I mean, it is easy money if you play well that week. I mean, they split up $3 million amongst 4 guys. I mean, it says pretty good. But, they like it. Brendan Steele just left the PGA Tour late last year to go jump on LIV. He's part of Phil's team on the LIV Tour. He's played 7 events. That's it. He's only played 7 events on the LIV Tour. He was asked yesterday, and I'll give PGA Tour Radio credit. They booked him on the show. I was impressed because, trust me, it's not like they've said LIV in the last year and a half on PGA Tour Radio. And yesterday, they were booking LIV players. And they asked Brendan Steele, Mark, they said, hey, now eventually you're going to be back and you could play the PGA Tour. And, what have you missed? And he goes, honestly? And they're like, yeah. He's like, I'm really good friends with Keegan Bradley, and I would have wanted to have played Zurich, the team event, with him this year. Okay. That week I was a little bummed. I just wanted to play Zurich with Keegan. He goes, otherwise, everything about the LIV I like better. And he started going through it one at a time. And he said, I know everybody on the PGA Tour makes fun of the whole team thing. He goes, honestly, it's my favorite part of the tour. He said, it's like being in college again. The 4 of us and our caddies, we pal around together. We eat together. We hang out together. We go to movies together. He goes, I'm telling you, it's awesome. He says, most fun I've had playing professional golf. Oh, okay.
So for all you golf fans out there, of which there are a lot of, Tampa, St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples, 2 of the biggest golf markets in the country. Are you watching more? Are you watching less? Are you done? Because so many of you were never going to watch Live Golf and told us that every time we brought it up. And now the tours have merged. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I don't know how you couldn't consider this a big win for Live Golf yesterday. A huge win.
Now, is it going to be a win for professional golf? I mean, there's going to be a lot more money now involved in professional golf, all the events. And Mark, I will say this. Here's where I think it's going to benefit the PGA Tour long term. The PGA Tour was basically an America thing. Played one event in Canada, played an event in Mexico. They tried to play 1 or 2 events overseas, but the PGA Tour is basically an America thing. All right. When the LIV took their little act and they took it to Australia and they took it to Singapore and places like that, they got massive crowds. If I were the PGA Tour, that would have got my attention. That would have been like, they're trying to do a world thing. There are a lot more people around the world than there are in the United States. Maybe we should get in on this whole world thing. A lot more golfers around the world than there are in the U.S. And I wonder if we'll find out if that had any impact at all also.
Can't wait for the schedules to be coming out and how they change things. And will Live Golf even continue? Monahan didn't seem to think so yesterday in his comments, not in its current form. But he backed off of completely saying it would be done.
Because in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I got to get through this week first. I got to still have a job come Friday.
21,000 is the text line. How do you feel about the PGA Tour and Live Golf merging? Your comments on the other side. Bud Elliott in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Now, here's my question, David. Because there's a policy board, but the board of directors. See, there's a PGA Tour policy board. Because there's a lot of players on some of these other boards. I don't know who would vote on this, if you know what I mean.
We'll ask Mark.
But we have control in this sense. If people actually are pissed at the sellout, they don't have to watch.
Right.
I mean, the NHL took a hit for a year with the whole kneeling. They did. It's undeniable. The facts are there with the numbers.
Wait, the NHL, you said?
The
or
NFL.
Oh, okay.
The NFL with the kneeling. They lost television. They got them all back.
Mm-hmm.
But it affected their viewership. It's a fact. It's not
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Same thing with the bubble, too. Did you know that Game 2's ratings of the finals were identical to last year's matchup?
Yeah, I know. It's doing well.
It is.
It's doing well. They're doing 11 and a half, close to 12 million first two games.
30 seconds.
Now, I will say there are many SEC championship games that beat that, but still, it's doing well.
Well, football, you know.
Yeah, college football, though.
Right. Just football in general. I mean, well, just college football and the NFL. Because the XFL.
Do you have texts?
Got a couple.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Mark Lai for 2 segments. Coming up in 40 minutes time. Bud Elliott in a little more than 15 minutes. We'll jam in some college football. We'll talk about life and the pursuit of happiness in a little over an hour with Seth Everett. 21,000 is how you can text the show. Guess many of you have an opinion on this LIV PGA Tour merger. Many chiming in our Twitch chat room, Mark. If I was a PGA Tour member, I would be livid. I would speak to my sponsors and boycott the next tournament. And then he said, and I would want to take out that commissioner. But I'm curious, Mark, do you think these guys would just get on a plane today and leave Toronto?
I don't think so. Because it's not an elevated event. These are guys that are 125 to 150 right now on the FedEx list. They need the points. So I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus of players saying, we're going to show Jay Monahan, we're not going to show up at the Canadian Open.
But I mean, if you stand for something, you stand for something. And it hurts you. I mean, that you take a stand. It hurts you. That's part of taking a stand. I mean, to me, if you're a PGA Tour player, okay, if you don't say something, do something, then, you know, you're complicit.
And that's what I think we will have. Now, if I were Rory, I wouldn't show up for the presser and I wouldn't show up for the tournament.
If I were Rory, I would do the presser and announce I'm withdrawing.
Fine. And let Monahan and everybody have it for the hour that I'm up there on the podium, get on my private jet, and I'll see you at the U.S. Open next week.
Now, I'm trying to think if one of his major sponsors is RBC, this could be a problem. Like, you know, I think DJ used to be sponsored by, or that's another thing, by the way. All these companies that ditched DJ and Mickelson, when they call back and they want to put, like when KPMG wants to put their letters on Phil's hat. I mean, if you're Phil, I mean, don't you just have a text or a tweet ready that simply says, shove it up my, and you just keep sending it out to so many people? Or is it,
really,
I'll get back.
I really would take a bullet for you, David.
Oh,
I really would.
If I was Phil Mickelson, I would be insufferable. And people are going, well, Phil is insufferable. I'd be Mickelson on steroids.
There is no doubt. Here are the texts that I'm getting. I'll watch more golf for now to see how golf is affected. The game of golf and the fans are the winners. Jay Monahan is the loser. Nothing changes. I'll check in on the majors or if Tiger is the hunt, which probably won't happen again. I'll watch the same amount of golf that I do now, mostly big events and majors.
Twitch chat room, Hops. I'd have two conditions to move forward with the merger. Both the name PGA Tour and Monahan have to be gone permanently. We have had a few people say, do you have to rebrand the tour now and make it something other than the PGA Tour? Johnny Yo, by the way, in our Twitch chat room, I am finished with the Royal Saudi Blood Money PGA Sellout Tour. The PGA app has been removed from my phone. Enough said. Many of you are forgetting 19 of the 22 who killed everyone with airplanes were Saudis. No, actually, Johnny, I don't think we've forgotten it all. If you were alive on September 11, 2001, I don't think there's a lot you've forgotten.
I do think that the marketing aspect of it is the biggest question for me. I mean, what changes? Because I don't think anything really changes from a golf standpoint, but certainly from a marketing standpoint, since there's a lot more money being pumped into that. But is it enough to grasp more people's attention?
Oh, usually if more good players play, it grabs more people's attention.
Well, not only that, but Liv's motto was golf but louder. And I feel like Liv was trying to target a younger audience.
Oh, well, there's no doubt they were. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. The shorts, everybody teeing off at the same time, the music. I mean, it was something. I mean, Mark and I share a friend, a former sportscaster in Southwest Florida named Jay Severson. And Jay golfs, I'm going to date myself here, but when I first saw Jay on a golf course, he golfs with a boombox. Okay. I mean, Jay does not play golf without his music loud. And that was the LIV. I mean, you walked around during one of their tournaments. I went to one. I worked two remotely and I worked one on site. It was something to be walking around and hear rock music blaring, okay, while Koepka's hitting a 6-iron in a 15.
Now, I'm not saying there's going to be music festivals now on PGA Tour events, but there's certainly other aspects that they can implement that actually could help them.
Well, if you think about it, it was, the 16th at Phoenix is a rock show.
Mm-hmm.
And they just tried to do that at Colonial not at Colonial. Was it, they did that at par 3 of one of the last tournaments, the one before the PGA, where they tried to make that par 3 like 16 at Phoenix, trying to add something to it. So I think the sport has to market itself younger, period. And I think the PGA Tour was taking some of that early from Liv. But I'm more interested with what they do with Liv Golf, what happens to it, how they bring the players back, and the fallout from bringing the players back.
Okay, Music wonders in our Twitch chat room, how many people didn't watch the majors this year because the LIV guys were in it? Well, Masters ratings were good. PGA ratings were bad. Form whatever conclusions you want. Many people have noticed that Jack Nicklaus said that yesterday was a good day for golf. He said, I want to see the details, but if it makes golf better, I'm all for it. So the question now is Jack a sellout?
$21,000. That's the text line, 21000. If you've never texted the show before, you need to simply text the keyword FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio. Love to hear your thoughts on the merger between Liv Golf and the PGA Tour that happened yesterday, little after 10 in the morning. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch with a K. Felipe, what do you have for us?
To Major League Baseball we go. The Reds down 5 against the Dodgers at home. I think they're exceeding expectations this year, because they came back, scored 3 in the 9th, and beat them.
Fly ball, left center field. This will get the job done. Hayward giving chase. It won't matter. It drops anyway. And here comes Stuart Fairchild to score the winning run. Matt McClain and the Reds walk it off, overcoming an 8-3 Dodger lead to beat the Dodgers 9-8 with 3 in the 9th.
So it's a crazy scene in Cincinnati, and you hear that call, and it's like, oh, that has to be the Dodgers radio guy, right? 700 WLW, Cincinnati. What was that? I mean, that disappointed me because it was an amazing game. The Reds won in dramatic fashion against one of the most stacked teams in Major League Baseball, and that's all the energy you have for me?
Well, maybe he was spent because it was a big night in Cincinnati. Apparently, they called up their top prospect, who's the top prospect in all of baseball, and he made his debut last night. So,
yeah, that's not a very good sell.
No.
There was nothing clutch about it. It was a clutch game.
We wanted a walk-off. Scored 3 in the ninth, and they beat the Dodgers. Where are you going to go?
I mean, they're more fired up broadcasting golf, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. I mean, clutch.
Clutch with a K. There's no doubt. The Reds with the walk-off win over the Dodgers. And that is our Clutch Vodka play of the day.
All right. We're going to change subjects for a segment. I have to admit, we booked Bud Elliott before the whole merger went down. But Bud's got this blue chip index, and it tells you that only these teams are capable of winning the national championship. We'll reveal it and him next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, you need to drop to make room for our next guest.
Oh, that's on Mark.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how it worked.
Damn, right when I was going to show off my Way of Wade 2s.
Well, you'll have time. Hey, Mark.
Yes, David.
The FGCU guy who had his mom on the bag. You want him?
Yeah,
We can get him tomorrow at 9:00.
absolutely.
Okay.
You know, I feel bad that I haven't watched The Office, and I feel badly that I haven't watched the last season of Succession because there's a lot of comparisons being made, and I I don't know the references, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I don't know the answer to that. If we do, it'll be in August, but I've got to find a course. West Bay's not open in August.
I feel like I woke up to the plot of Caddyshack 2 and Jackie Mason just bought the PGA.
There's Bud. Hi, Bud.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, little golf action yesterday. Doesn't hurt to be in two of the top golf markets in the country and have this happen.
Wait, what are the top golf markets in the country?
St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples, West Palm.
And
Nice.
they rotate in terms of ratings. I mean, literally, they're almost, it's like 1A, 1B.
Huh.
Or 1A, 1B, 1C, however you want to do it. I mean, they're all.
That makes sense.
How are things with you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Got Blue Chip Ratio out yesterday. We're doing our summer school series.
I promote the Blue Chip Ratio, bringing you on.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about
I'm
it.
surprised who's in and who's not.
Yeah. There's a couple teams we could see if they could bust it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I feel pretty good about the national title coming from that. It's a pretty exhaustive list.
Well, it's a bigger list than in recent years, isn't it?
Yeah. So USC rotated back on, and I thought Auburn would slip off, but Hugh Freeze got enough blue chips there at the very end of the cycle to barely hang on.
30 seconds.
Never mind, you're busy as GM of the Rays,
Yeah. Dude, I mean, they're killing it. This is so awesome.
It's my daughter. She plays softball. She's becoming a Rays fan with me. It's really cool. She's 9 and she'll watch Rays games. Likes a Rosarena. That's her guy because of the arm fold thing.
Oh, he does the arm fold. Yeah. And Liam loves Wander, my son. So
that's my guy.
yeah. I'm like, Wander's a good guy to watch. I mean, they plays really good defense.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour, Mark Lai will join us for 2 segments beginning at the top of the hour to talk about this PGA Tour LIV merger thing that they concocted yesterday. Seth Everett 1 hour from now, but we had people clamoring for our next guest. It's like, hey, with everything going on in college football, when are you going to talk to Bud Elliott again? So we reached out to Bud Elliott, 24/7 Sports, CBS Sports, a couple of great podcasts, including the podcast of the year, Nolecast last year. Thank you very much. Also the Cover 3 podcast. Follow Bud on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3. That's Elliott with 2 L's, 2 T's, the number 3. Bud, how you been?
Guys, I've been good. Been busy. We've been doing summer school on Cover 3. Been down there. Went to the FAU FSU mega camp that they had down there in Boca, and it was a good time. So been busy. Blue Chip Ratio out yesterday. So a lot of things going on. I got to go out to Vegas in a couple weeks after Elite 11 to pick up my winnings from the Caesars contest and the Golden Nugget contest. So pretty excited about that. It's a busy summer. Like there's no off season.
Picking up checks. That's what we like to hear. And for the record, he gave a lot of those picks away for free on this show over the course of the last couple of years, and he has been on fire, to say the very least. In regards to recruiting, how big is this summer? I've seen, these visits to Florida. You just talked about that camp. It seems that there is a lot going on in the recruiting world right now.
There is. So Florida is in a really interesting situation, right? I think Billy Napier is a good recruiter, and I think he, for the most part, has a good recruiting staff. They beefed up the staff quite a bit in the transition from Mullen to Napier. Now, last year they finished with a losing record, right? And this year, their Vegas win total is 5.5. I kind of think over on that is the right way to go. I have a hard time seeing Florida actually miss a bowl. I do think Napier generally knows what he is doing. They had a bunch of really elite kids on campus last weekend. They're going to have more on campus coming up over the next few weeks. Now, they did not get commits out of that quite yet. What you're hearing is like, Florida made a good impression. I'm going to be watching to see what Florida does this year. I know Swamp 247, our Florida site, does a tremendous job, right, with Blake and Jacob over there. Like, they really are. They're kind of the nuts in this industry, right? Like, they know what they're talking about. I think it's a little bit concerning that they did not get commits out of that, especially because they had DJ Lagway, their elite quarterback prospect, helping to recruit all these kids too. But they are aiming high. Like, Florida is trying to get kids that are going to go to Georgia potentially, or Clemson, or Alabama. So I think with the Gators, it's make the good impression now and have the season that you need to have in the fall to give those kids a reason to say yes. We actually saw this last year with FSU.
Well, that's
right?
what we were going to ask you. Okay. Is the Norvell comparison? Remember, he goes 3-6, 5-7. Napier's recruiting off of 6-7, and the year before he got there was 6-7. So the situations are similar. Is the Norvell comparison a fair one in which we're not going to see on and off field results for Florida really until a year from now and on the field in 24?
I think it actually is pretty fair. Now, you have to somehow tease out the COVID year, right? Because like the first year was basically a complete wash, and Florida plays a more difficult schedule than FSU most seasons. I think this year, certainly, given the fact they play Utah and the Knowles in the non-conference. But yeah, if they can show some progress, I talked to Jacob Rudner of Swamp 24/7 on Cover 3. I asked him, like, what record do they need to have to land the kind of recruiting class that's going to allow Billy Napier to have the success that allows him to be successful long-term there at Florida, which means like you don't lose to Georgia every year, right? Like you're consistently with FSU, you're challenging Bama like Florida has done for most of our lives, right? Like they've been a pretty good program since the 80s, obviously, and have more titles than most teams out there. And Jacob said, I think they need to find a way to win 8 games, right? If they're going to sign these kids that are considering Clemson, that are considering Georgia, that are considering Bama, you need to find a way to like kind of be in and out of the top 25 poll. Find a way to win 8 ball games. Obviously, like that's higher than their win total, but I don't think it's necessarily completely out of the realm of possibility.
Are they shooting too high? Is it troubling when you're going after those? Because, everybody wants those players. If you don't get them, is there a fallback for them? Or is this the only way you can approach it if you're Florida?
I would be shooting high at this point, honestly. It's still Florida. You can drop down and get guys later on if you want to. You saw that some last cycle. They did have some good plan Bs lined up. They're officially visiting and having a lot of kids visit. So it's not like they're just focusing on the top of the top. And you also have the transfer portal now, right? Like there used to be a larger penalty if you kind of overshot a little bit in the high school recruiting and maybe your plan Bs were already really solidly committed elsewhere. So you had to drop down to plan Cs. Now your plan B may just be hit the portal, sell some playing time, right?
Bud Elliott, 24/7 Sports, CBS Sports, Cover 3 Podcast, Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3, Elliott 2 L's, 2 T's, and the number 3. Listen, before we get to your blue chip ratio, just your thoughts on the SEC punting on going to the 9-game schedule. And is that significant for you next year when we go to the 12-team playoff and they're playing a, quote, inferior schedule? Would that make a difference, or have they just, by winning 13 of the last 17 national championships, quite frankly, they can make their own rules?
In my modeling, I basically give them a half-loss pass, right? But based on the committee's behavior. I think the committee thinks SEC is far and away tougher than any other league, really, as far as excusing a loss in the loss column. I wonder, I think there's a lot of competing factors here, right? I think Sankey probably really thought they would get the votes to go to 9. Next year, I'm sure they will get the votes to go to 9 because you'll have Texas and Oklahoma come in. I think they'll obviously vote for it. And then, like it could be 9-7, assuming the vote this year was, was a 7-7 or less, right? Because you need a majority vote to get this thing. And maybe they really are concerned about the committee caring about strength of schedule, right? And maybe they're going to press for some kind of RPI or whatever, like we see in basketball, because I really don't think the committee cares about strength of schedule all that much. Like they pay lip service to it, but for the most part, they just rank order these things based on the number of losses with small adjustments for strength of schedule. That's the history of the committee so far. So maybe if they really are able to force change as far as strength of schedule, which I want, because that means we're going to have better matchups across the country. If they really care about strength of schedule, if they're really willing to excuse losses as long as you play well, then teams will be a little bit less scared to play these big time matchups. Right now, it is not smart scheduling from a playoff berth standpoint to play these big games. Now, from a keeping your season ticket holders happy standpoint, yes, obviously, like a lot of season ticket holders don't want to see you play 3 tomato cans and then a conference schedule in the ticket package that they have to buy. But maybe it'll get to that. And also, I think it was Ross Dellinger or Thamel or maybe Brandon Marcello who said he thinks that the bowl eligibility 6-6 requirement will be going away, and it'll just go to like which teams are actually want to play bowl games, right? And okay, like you go play it, which I'm for too, because I'm tired of seeing these bowl games where you have half the team opt out. Like I'd rather just see teams that are excited to play and are going to play most of their full rosters. Or
maybe we could just get rid of a few of these bowl games, but we know that will never happen because
that's
pumped them up. So, all right, just very simply, what is the blue chip ratio? So people understand what it is we're talking about. Give us a quick once-over of what your blue chip ratio is.
Sure thing. So blue chip ratio is the measure of have you recruited well enough to win a national title. Not developed well enough, not retained well enough, not coached well enough, not cultured well enough. Simply, have you recruited well enough to win a national title? And over the last decade plus, you need to sign more 4- and 5-star prospects than 2- and 3-star prospects over the previous 4 classes. So it's not something that's trying to say that these are the teams that are most likely to win it. It's just give me the entire set of teams that have established a talent base on the recruiting side that is good enough as recruits to win a national title. And from there, we can kind of pare it down if we want to, but like that's essentially it. It's who has recruited well enough over the last 4 years to actually take home the prize.
There are 16 teams that have over 50% of their roster be 4- and 5-star recruits. 16, which I think is a couple more than normal. Like Auburn made it at 51%. USC made it at 52%. What's interesting to me here is, one, Florida State ain't on the list. And Florida State's in everybody's top 10 and some people's top 5s. And the Canes and the Gators are both on the list. Miami with 61% of their roster and Florida with 64%. If I'm a Gator fan, I'm going, seriously? We got that many guys 4- and 5-stars? No, have you watched us the last couple of years?
Exactly right. So look, the last year Willie Taggart and Mike Norvell's first 2 recruiting classes are all rolled into this. Last year, the class that just signed 5 months ago is the first time that Mike Norvell's staff showed a pulse on the recruiting trail. So yes, they have a lot of good players on that team. Do they have a lot of great players? I'll hit you with this stat, and this is something that is, I think, more retrospective. The last 4 national champions have averaged 7 first-round picks within the next 2 drafts. That's pretty nuts. Although LSU is the lowest at 5, they had 5 in the top 15, which is obviously like elite players. How many first-rounders do you think FSU has on their team right now for the next 2 drafts? Maybe 1?
Maybe the quarterback.
No, hell no. I'm sorry.
No?
No, like Jordan
Okay.
Travis is a good college quarterback. He's not going to be a
Okay.
first-round pick. I think he's more of like a, fifth-round type guy. I think it's
Wow.
Jared Verse, the defensive end. So I think that Florida State this year has a lot of really good players. I don't think they have a lot of like seriously, top 50, top 30 type picks on their roster. But they're an interesting test case for sure. Like they are definitely the team that I'm most worried about breaking this.
And obviously TCU was not on the list last year, and look at where they made it. And marking comparison, if you're picking the Noles over Clemson with the 5th highest blue chip rating at 72%.
Well, that's, when you got Clemson there, but you also have Florida State who's done really well in the portal. How do you measure the portal? Because this is recruiting. This is not portal. This is not transfer. This is about the guys you bring in. How have you at all adjusted, or will you at one point adjust because of the portal, Bud?
So I actually do put the portal guys in here in the later part of the article. I show the adjustments, right? So for the most part, and this is consistent with what we are seeing in the NFL draft too, right? Most of your first rounders, most of your second rounders, most of your real difference makers in the sport are not coming from the portal. Almost all of your guys at premium positions are not coming from the portal, but I do put them in. So here's the deal. Most teams dropped about 2 or 3% when all their portal guys were added in because most of the portal use is for depth. Florida State actually went from 38% to 41% when their portal stuff was included. The thing is, what's dragging FSU down is really bad recruiting for 3 of the last 4 years. And last year was barely over the blue chip mark. So that's their first year that they've even had, somewhat championship caliber recruiting. You have to stack classes on top of classes. So they have the portal is providing a good number of quality players and a couple elite players so far. USC is obviously the example with Caleb Williams, but we have seen in the past, even grad transfer quarterbacks oftentimes were the difference. However, certain positions you just cannot find out of the portal. 15 of 16 offensive tackles drafted in the NFL draft were not portal kids, right? Almost all of your edge rushers, not players in the portal. So certain spots, especially the really elite positions, you kind of have to get out of high school. And that's why I think within my list, Michigan went up 54 to 55%. I think they've done a really strategic job with the portal, but most teams will drop down a percentage or two.
Got about 30 seconds left. Do you anticipate before the start of the season, and by the way, 80 days away from week 0 today, do you anticipate conference the start of the season?
Conference realignment? I do not. You guys skipped there for half a second. You still got me?
Yeah, we're there. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to see any more conference realignment before the start of the season. I don't. I think if you're Colorado, you have to do your due diligence, which is getting the Pac-12 number and getting the Big 12 number. And then I think maybe next offseason we'll figure that out. But I don't think we're going to get it. But I could be wrong on that. I really am not super plugged there.
Just what Elliott from me, Bud, is by the time we have you on next, I need some of that Kentucky Owl bottle that's over your shoulder. Drink. That bottle is completely full. We need you to crack that bourbon bottle by your next appearance.
I got a bunch of those actually. That's the store by me had a good price on that, so I went in and then scooped it.
So translation: the bottle may be full, but it's my 7th bottle.
Yep. Yeah, about right.
Bud Elliott, 24/7 Sports, the Cover 3 and Nolecast podcasts, also on CBS. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's, and the number 3, Bud Elliott 3. Bud, safe travels to Vegas. Collect those winnings, and we'll talk again before the start of the season.
See you guys.
Bud Elliott, kind enough to join us, and he is also basking in the glow of the first place raise. He's got his college football winnings and the first place raise. He's a happy guy.
Mark Lai to talk Live PGA merger next.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com. Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Lai sent out a tweet, and Mark's not a big Twitter guy, sent out a tweet 21 hours ago. So, all of you Greg Norman and Phil haters, I'm hoping you have your apology letters ready to send out as soon as you clean all of the egg off your faces.
You broke up. We were disconnected for that whole thing of Mark Lai's tweet.
Are we good?
I hope so.
Well, Hops, it would be interesting. We see how this shakes out. If the LIV Tour continues as is, do some of the PGA Tour guys leave in protest? Thing is, now that it's under the PGA Tour umbrella, I don't see the big signing bonuses being handed out anymore. I think Hideki and Rory and them,
they missed their golden goose.
They sure did. Ricky Fowler, although he benefited from LIV because LIV kept his card.
Mark Lai is on hold. $30.
I don't think, Adam, they changed their name. But it'll be, if their brand is so damaged, maybe they'll have to.
$10.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we begin our final hour in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. And we're just halfway home in the 239, but we do so with Mark Lai, a winner on the PGA Tour, spent 45 years playing and broadcasting golf. You can follow him on Twitter at Let It Fly, FLYE, incorporating his last name into it. Mark, how you been?
Well, this has been a pretty weird 24 hours, and I know now how Ozzy Osbourne must feel every day that he wakes up. If this isn't the crazy train, I don't know what is. Yesterday at this time, I was watching CNBC, as I always do in the morning. I do Fox Business and then back it up with CNBC. And I saw the report and I said, what? So I immediately texted my two really good friends that work with LIV, and I'm not going to say in what division or anything. They had no clue of what was going on. So I said, holy boy, how did this ever be kept secret? In the 24 hours since then, there has been a multitude of, what ifs and what about this and what about that? Well, it just happened, and everyone's wanting answers right now to stuff that isn't even close to being worked out. And it's kind of futile. And I look at Twitter. Of course, that's my only outlet these days. I used to be on TV, and I used to have a couple of shows on radio, which I loved. But knowing how I feel about LIV and the PGA Tour, I could never work for a golf operation anymore, And I feel like I know too much about the tour. And I've just seen this movie before, guys. I've seen it before back in the 80s and the 90s, and I say, well, they're still up to the same old crap. And so we'll see how it all turns out. I'm just, every day is another enlightening day on, what they're even going to tell us. And you think that we feel bad as press or media or people that love the game? How do you think the players feel, Dave? Mark, how do you think they feel? I'm just asking you guys.
Well, I know a few people that are in and around golf, and I was texting with them yesterday, and by all accounts the players are hot, and they deserve to be and should be. The question that I have for you first, Mark, did you participate in the 4:00 meeting? Were you at any way? Because I know you're a PGA Tour member still. Were you on that call?
Yes. No, I wasn't on the call. Look, I've been in those meetings, many of them. They just basically talk in circles. I mean, they run. It's basically, here's the agenda. This is what we're talking about. No questions till the very end. And it's like a Joe Biden interview, you know? He'll just read his deal off and then I'm not getting political. I'm just being real here. There are no questions at the end. It's basically they dictate. Now, behind closed doors and the closed membership meetings with the PAC and the board, that's where they really get into it. But a lot of the players don't even go. I mean, they just don't because they've been through it. They go to the first bunch of them because they're rookies. And after about 5 years, they say, why in the hell am I even going? This is just being dictated to me what's going to happen. This is what the tour does. They pass something, and then they basically take it to the membership and say why it's such a good deal. And then they somehow get it passed through the membership. But it's all a setup. I hate to be, so questionable about these guys, but it's just the way they are. And, Dave and Mark, I've seen so much crap thrown out there from the, what do we call it, the corrupt golf media, of which you guys are not. I mean, everyone knows who they are. They just lap it up from Jay, whatever this guy says. And now how do they look? I'm just saying.
Mark, can I challenge you on something or question you on something you said earlier? You said, I've seen this in the 80s and 90s before. Okay, what is it that you, when you were an active player and on the PGA Tour board, what did they do in the 80s and 90s that had you yesterday going, I'll be damned, they did it again?
Stonewalled. There were a couple of guys. One of them was a good friend of mine and a roommate for a while. His name is Danny Edwards. Won 4 or 5 times on the PGA Tour, became a race car driver, really good friend of Roger Penske and the Penske racing team. He basically saw some things that were going wrong. And he went to question them with attorneys and everything. They flat stonewalled him. Okay? There was the Ping lawsuit. The Ping lawsuit was Carsten Solheim did not like the way that the PGA Tour came down with illegal grooves, they called it, square grooves. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Whole thing in the 80s? Well, let me tell you something. Carsten Solheim became the Antichrist all of a sudden on the PGA Tour. This was a nice dude. Very good guy. They had this guy so vilified that I think it caused his death. I mean, this guy was kind of a feeble old guy, but he was one of these, scientist guys, and they just beat him to death.
And then obviously what they did to Norman in the 90s with his idea of the World Tour, which they badmouthed him and then took the idea and turned it into WGC events. Okay, I just wanted to clarify, with your experience when you said something like that to those that are joining this discussion and, what have you.
Right.
Mark, did this
this isn't just coming out of my butt. I mean,
right.
This is something that I lived, and I'm seeing it again, and it's just now we're talking about big dollars.
Mark,
and I can understand Phil and all these guys want to leave the tour.
Why do you think, from the tour standpoint, that they were motivated to do this? In your estimation, what motivated them to do a deal with Satan?
It's all about the books, guys. They always said our books are open. Nobody's seen the books. And they have this 501c3 designation. How they are a nonprofit organization, I will never know. Because the PGA Tour doesn't give money directly to charity. It's the companies like the Salesmanship Club at the Byron Nelson Classic. Okay? It's those guys that raise the money and give the money. The PGA Tour is not responsible. They facilitate these guys. Yet the PGA Tour, look, it's their game. They conjured it up. Dean Beeman, followed by Tim Fincham, followed by, Jay Monahan. I've been through 3 of these guys, and they all have the same MO. That's it. They're a feather in their nest, rightfully so to some point. But when it starts getting to be where the commissioner's making more money than 99% of the players out there, and there's plenty of money to go around, obviously, the guys like Phil, the guys like Greg, the guys that have had questions, I think even Rom's got questions. They're going to say, hey, guys, what's in it for me, or I'm going to bolt. And that's where I think Rory comes in. I think that's where JT comes in. I think that's where all these guys are, hey, guys, just don't worry. We'll take care of you. And so now, if you're Jay Monahan, holy mackerel, I just don't think it goes well for him now. At least it wouldn't if I was still a member of the PGA Tour, which I was for almost 20 years.
What recourse do the players like Rory have outside of quitting and bypassing some events? I mean, this is just shoved down their throats, and it's take it or leave it, and there's nowhere else to go, right, Mark?
No, there are places to go. I mean, there are places to play golf. It's a worldwide game. I don't know Rory's exact situation, except that he can't spend half the money that he's got from now until he dies. So I guess in that way, who gives a dang, But overall, I just think that these guys were spat on. I think, the guys that were loyal to the PGA Tour, and I saw something else on Twitter. It said that, maybe 6 guys. It said all of this money was given up. They said they offered Rahm, $300 million, and they offered Tiger $800 million. That's smoke, guys. Those guys weren't offered that. In fact, there were only 2 guys on that list of 6 that they had. It said $21 billion gone. And there were only 2 of those guys that were made offers that were on the big 6, I call them. So the press is just grabbing at straws. They're going through hearsay. They're not getting the LIV has been, so silent it's deafening. They don't give up their hand at all. But the PGA Tour and the players that the tour talks into being the mouthpiece, I want to say that Tiger's kind of a mouthpiece. We know JT was, and we know Rory is. They're looking stupid right now. To me, maybe they're feeling okay about things. Maybe they were made certain guarantees. But for the most part, guys, nobody really knows what's on the LIV side because they are tight-lipped.
Mark, we got about
go ahead.
We got about 60 seconds till we take our break. All right. What's the procedure to get rid of Jay Monahan? Like, if the players are like, listen, we have to live with this deal, but we don't want to live with you any longer. How do you get rid of your commissioner?
Well, it used to be, I think it's pretty hard. I don't know what the regs are. I do know this, is that in the past, they have had these evergreen contracts. If they ever do fire you as the commissioner, you've got 5 years of salary. So that's a huge number right there. So it would have to be something pretty bad. And I think there would have to be, a huge number of players that would just say non-performance. I'm sure there's something written in his contract. I don't know what's in his contract. And so I don't know what's in your contract either, Dave, but I think the players could get rid of him if they wanted to. It would take the PAC and it would take the board. And the PAC is getting a mouthful right now, Player Advisory Council. Those 10 or 12 guys are just getting a complete mouthful from players right now. And if I were in Canada, if I were the Canadian Open, I'd probably just say, hey, guys, let's not even do this tournament this week. We can't even talk about
more with Mark Lai coming up on the other side. Thanks, Mark.
Located
Sorry.
on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark, are you still there?
Now he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
There's a comment, and by the way, there are people listening right now, so what you're saying is not off the record here. We're broadcasting live on an internet platform called Twitch, so people can hear you. But there's a comment in our Twitch chat room that said, "I learned more in that segment than I did in all the coverage yesterday."
Well, you know something? That's very flattering, but me, Dave, I listen and I participate. And one of my friends and I have been on this Twitter thing, and you may know who he is. I'm not going to reveal him, but he just says this is so much bullshit that it's almost, I think that's why Phil basically said, okay, I'm going to go on the attack now, because there's so many untruths coming out in this whole thing that I just can't stand it anymore. And I honestly don't know how Greg is held back. I honestly don't. I mean, how would you like to just be just pissed on like these two guys? Knowing what they know.
Oh, no, Mark, we did a few minutes earlier in the show in which and Miller and Moulton can hold grudges, Mark. We're actually good at it. And even Mark laughed because I'm meaner than Mark at the end of the day. And Mark's like, right. Oh, Moulton, you might get arrested if you were Greg or Phil with how nasty you would be for the rest of this week.
I'm just curious. I'm more curious how Rory handles this presser. If he's just going to shut up or if he's going to be as angry as he could be.
You know something? Rory's, he is one of the biggest hypocrites that I've ever known. I mean, talk about a guy who's done it for the money. I mean, if the Benjamins aren't there, he ain't going to do it. And I just, for him to be the mouthpiece in his fragile state of mind, playing this game, and obviously he is very fragile, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, for a guy with all this talent, he's the wrong guy. I mean, he can't handle this. This is just way too. Talk about Ozzy Osbourne. He must wake up every freaking 10 minutes thinking, what the hell have I done here?
Don't you think, though, that if
this girl who I absolutely fucking hate, now I got to wake up with her and chew my arm off. It's like,
okay. I think, though, that if Rory in front of the microphones today said Jay's got to go, I think he'd be gone. I really do.
yeah, and it's not.
I mean, if Tiger or Rory came out and said, "Okay, Jay's got to go," don't you think he's gone?
Yeah, I do. That's all it would take. I would say that, hey, we trusted you. You shit on us, and I'm sorry, but you got to go. Jay's looking like he's smelling like a rose right now, unless he gets blowback from the players, which I believe he's going to get. But right now, I mean, what do you think that him and Al Raymond talked about? Jay is now the new commissioner or something of this new league
of all of golf, right? He went from running the PGA Tour that now he's responsible for golf around the world, right?
45 seconds.
All right, here we go.
All right, we're coming back.
You got it.
Ten seconds.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we've got about 10 minutes remaining with Mark live. 45 years, a player and a broadcaster on the PGA Tour, still a member of the PGA Tour. You can follow Mark on Twitter at Let It Fly. That's FLYE. Kind of working the spelling of his last name there. Where do you think it goes from here? Like, you're a lot more people on the LIV side are staying in touch with you these days than the PGA Tour side. Where do they think it goes? Is this going to be their 14 event tour as it is this year? They were even talking about going to 18 events next year, and it'll run concurrently parallel to the PGA Tour. Where do you think this goes?
Well, as Jay said yesterday, I don't see that happening. But as far as competing events, I don't know how it doesn't happen, to be honest with you. I mean, so the LIV, if they were to play on weeks that there weren't tour events, there aren't very many weeks where there aren't tour events. So it's going to be, this is a mess. I mean, this is like, wow, this is quantum physics with a ball of string right here. I don't have a clue. Remember, this is only 24 hours old, and I'm sure that let's sign the bill and then read the bill and find out what's in it. I think that's what's going on right now, guys. It's like this is a political fight here. I honestly don't see how the players can trust Jay anymore. I honestly do not. If I were still a playing member on the PGA, and so this is another way that the tour kind of has it over the players. Players are only on a 1-year pass. If they get involved in all of this, stuff around the game rather than the game itself, they're gone the next year. That's why I think a guy like Harold Varner, who is a non-winner on the PGA Tour, guess what? He's only got 1 year out there. Why wouldn't he sign for $35 million and play for 4 years? At least he's guaranteed. But see, that's how the tour, that's how it is with the players. They would always just say, hey, if you have a gripe, just play better, and it'll all be fine. And that's what they always kept with us. Now some of these guys that were pretty good, that were losing their card. Look, if Ricky Fowler, who actually was made a very solid offer by LIV and turned it down and asked for almost double that amount the next meeting, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. Now, he's a member of the board, for God's sake. But if LIV hadn't happened last year, guess who would be without a card? Ricky Fowler. I mean, he barely squeaked in this last year and the year before. He's been on the outside looking in. So a player like Ricky Fowler, who is meant for stardom, all of a sudden, wow, he could be gone. So I don't blame the Brenton Steeles or any of these guys for, signing up for the next 3 or 4 years with guaranteed money, because we know how the tenuous line we walk on trying to keep a job sometimes. And on the tour, it's no more evident, than it is on the PGA Tour. You're on a 1-year pass. Unless you've won, then it's a 2-year pass. And so that's why I think the players are saying, there's got to be a better way.
Mark, in my head, all I keep going back to is a movie from the 70s, Slapshot, the hockey movie, in which they send the goaltender up to the GM and says, who owns the chief? Who owns the tour? The Saudis own the tour now, right?
I don't know. I don't know what's the fine print. I just don't. I do know this for a fact, is that the sponsors are not anteing up for these so-called elevated events, and even the non-elevated events. The situation that happened with Honda. Not all of a sudden, maybe they don't have a full schedule. Maybe that's why they're saying, okay, well, we got LIV to fill in now. Maybe we should merge with them. I don't know. This is what I'm suspecting could be a problem. So if you're used to, throwing a tournament for $10 million, and Jay comes out and says, hey, I'm going to make you an elevated event, the bad news is you got to come up with 15 more million. I would say, what? What are you talking about? And if you're Honda, you've been a great event for a lot of years at a great venue. Now they're saying we couldn't get a field last year. We had 2 players in the top 25 and 5 out of the top 50 in our event. We can't continue to sponsor a less than significant event. So I'm sure that with the absence of Brooks Koepka and Bryson, some of the stars that are on LIV, Cameron Smith, I mean, wow, that's a big hit. So I just think that there's a lot that hasn't been determined yet. I think it's like, let's agree to talk. And so there aren't any answers. That's why the meeting yesterday was so insignificant. There's so much that still has to be worked out.
He's Mark Lai. Follow him on Twitter at Let It Fly, FLYE. What's the biggest unanswered question for you?
What's in those books? What's the tour afraid of? That's my whole thing, is I would love to find out where the bodies are buried for once and for all. Because look, I'm still a member of the PGA Tour. I like the tour. I just like the LIV too. And I would sure like to know the truth about everything. And God knows what the truth is. There's only a very few people in those rooms that know what the actual truth is and what forced Monahan's hand. Because I've watched these guys before. They don't ever give in. Never does the tour give in. And so something significant had to happen in there. Whether it's a legal battle, whether it were threats on both sides, I don't know. But they had to somehow get together. And I got to think that Greg and Phil are vindicated, and they should be. And they're going to be like the Curt Floods, I believe. We'll see how this all unfolds. But Curt Flood was looked upon negatively for a long time, and he was responsible for a lot of players getting a lot more money.
All right. In a little over a minute, do you think after we go through this brouhaha, I mean, next week's the U.S. Open. In a way, golf can kind of quickly move on. Do you think that there's long-term fallout from this? We've had people say to us, I've dropped the PGA Tour app off my phone. I'm done. Mark's mom walked in his house last night and said, I'll never watch golf again. I know you've lost friendships over just being open-minded to what the LIV was doing. Do you think in 60 seconds that there's a long-term fallout for this negatively?
There's not a long-term fallout. You know why? Because golf is a great game. And there may be a little fallout for 6 months or whatever, just like there was with baseball and football during the strikes and everything. But the game wins every time. And remember, it's not just an American game. It's a worldwide game. The rest of the world is praising this because they are getting their 2 cents worth in. The golf world it's not just an American game. It's a worldwide game. So Australia, the Pacific Rim, South Africa, Europe, especially, over the moon.
Well, this may save the DP World Tour, which quite frankly was deader than a doornail. I mean, it was below the Corn Ferry Tour, quite frankly, as to the quality of fields. And the DP World Tour has been terrible. This may save it. Mark, thanks for giving us the time. We're going to call on you again soon. Hopefully you'll keep answering.
Okay, you bet. Thanks, David, Mark. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Mark Lai, follow him on Twitter. Let it fly, FLYE. Mark Lai, 45 years and still a member. Player, broadcaster for 45 years. Doesn't broadcast anymore. All right. Let it fly is how you follow him on Twitter.
I wish he would have just let it out. He always holds back when we have him on, and I feel a little disappointed. Seth Everett, who never holds back. He's next, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What's up, Seth?
What's up?
Hi, Seth.
How are you guys? That guy was good. I logged in early so I could hear it.
Yeah, he's great.
To answer one thing in the Twitch chat room, Mongo, yes. Mark was doing PGA Tour radio pre and post on the weekends, and he was trying to compliment the LPGA Tour and made a really big attack on the WNBA. He realized that he went a little too far. They came back from break and immediately apologized, but also clarified the point he was trying to make.
and it was taken as he was also being critical of women's golf. And, it immediately was released on Twitter, and people went after him, and they got rid of him a couple days later.
Seth, really quick, have you seen Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I have.
It was damn good.
But my reviewer has calling in sick, so I'm scrambling.
Calling in sick? You can't call in sick. The hell?
Hall of Justice has no priority. I gotta scramble.
Hell, I could talk about all the things I loved about it for 30 minutes. So good.
It's very good.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Your buddy going to do it next week?
No, I didn't tell you who I got.
No.
Oh, Ian O'Connor.
Oh, you told me you were reaching out to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had a long conversation with Ian. He's going to be perfect. He's exactly what I need. I can ask all the hard questions, kind of like what you just did. Ian's, he covers this stuff. He still covers this stuff. He's perfect. I'm going to reach out to Kettleon today, but he can't. He can't do the podcast.
Yeah, he can. He can.
No, I'm telling you, they're going to tell him that.
That's a different story. If he then asks for permission from,
that's what he'll do. He asks for permission.
If he asks for permission from Jen Sabatel of CBS, the answer is no.
He's gonna. When I got James Lofton, like he asked 12 times. Like it was. He plays by the book. He's a good guy.
Very fired up, Seth. The wife and I are 3 episodes away of the show we've been watching. Once I finish it, I can start watching Maisel, because I've not seen any of the last season. Because it came out. We've been on the show. There's 3 seasons of it.
Which one?
Louder Milk's the name of the show.
No.
He's a alcoholic that runs a rehab, and he's an a-hole. And that's kind of the whole premise. He's this a-hole that does rehab, and the people in the group it's pretty funny. It's the movie Office Space. He's the guy from Office Space. I come in here and I stare at my computer for an hour every day. That's the main character in it.
I've been watching Shrinking. That's very good. And Wednesday, the spinoff of the Addams Family. It's very good.
So the CNN CEO's being forced out.
1 minute.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Ugh. The air quality here is so bad.
Oh, that's right.
Canadian wildfires getting you?
It's Canadian wildfires. I knew I didn't like Quebec.
The spectacle at Yankee Stadium last night was haunting.
Yeah, the images were pretty bad. All the minor league teams canceled games.
Crazy.
It's pretty bad outside. I guess can't go walking. Oh, well. No one got that.
I got it.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. The last segment along the network in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The bonus hour will begin at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. This day and time has been reserved for Seth Everett for, years. It's his time. He doesn't have to pay for it, but he does give it up to us.
Sports with Friends Hall of Justice is two terrific podcasts. Follow them on Twitter at Seth_Everett. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Fired up. You had a good first hour, the 8 o'clock hour. Your first guest was good. Your second guest sucks.
Mark, if you're just joining us, Mark Lye did 2 segments with us to start the hour. So Seth is guest number 2. Hey, how you holding up with all the smoke, the Canadian wildfires?
It's pretty bad, man. It's gross. You know, it's funny. I was in it's not funny, but I was in Seattle a couple of years ago, and they had some issues from some wildfires in Victoria. And Seattle, I noticed it, and it was bad, and I was getting headaches from it, and it was bad there. And I remember coming back east saying, you know, the air quality was really bad when I was out west. Now it's here, and it's all over. It's a blanket. Last night was really, really bad. You go outside, it smells like there's a barbecue right next to you, but all over, everywhere you go. It's pretty rough. It's not a good thing. They made all the kids, all the recess and all that stuff's going to be indoors, and they're canceling all the outdoor activities and pretty much telling you to stay inside. So I wish I had a funnier answer.
No, there is no other answer. Just giving us the report is what's going on.
Yeah,
Seth, I'm curious. We've been talking live and PGA. We've talked about it with you a lot. Do you compare this to anything else? Is there anything that you've seen sports-wise that this compares to you?
Well, you know, when I listen to your segment with Mark and you know, when I've been reading everything that I'm reading, you know, the angle that I take is I see the opposition and the people who are angry as hell, especially the 9/11 families in this area, who are angry about sports washing. And what I say to that is, if you want to, every day you can see evidence of sports washing. There was an incident at the French Open where Aryna Sabalenka, who's from Belarus, she's like the number 2 women's tennis player. She played a player from the Ukraine, and at the end of their match, the woman who lost from Ukraine, she wouldn't shake Sabalenka's hand, and the fans didn't know why, because they didn't realize where each other were from, and they booed her. And she came out in the press conference at the end, said, I'm not shaking her hand. And people had, you know, well, what is it? It's sportsmanship. Just 2 weeks ago, the Premier League was won by Manchester City. Manchester City is owned by the Saudis, and they bought their team. Like, it is worse than Jason Giambi, Randy Johnson, Kevin Brown days, you know, from 2002 when Steinbrenner bought all the teams. Or, you know, you start to see sport washing all over. Alex Ovechkin has pictures of him and Putin on his Instagram. But he's playing in the NHL. But Daniil Medvedev couldn't play in the U.S. Open last year. Like, where does it stop? And for people who are saying, I'm never going to watch golf again, I'm never going to do this again, you know, the one thing I read in the press release was that the PGA is going to get a new name. That it's not going to be the PGA, it's not going to be LIV, it's not going to be DB, it's going to be something new. And if you're not going to get on board with this because you are diametrically opposed to it, that is well within your right. But where does it stop? And why do you handpick golf as the one that says, well, they crossed the line, but all those other examples that I gave you didn't?
By the way, I did not see that. Really? It's out.
That's what I read in the press release, was that it's all going to be a new name.
It's no
longer going to be a new entity and a name to be announced.
Wow. You think that's a smart thing to do? I mean, because the PGA Tours had radical change. I mean, people don't remember it, but Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus hijacked the PGA Tour, very much for the better, by the way. But they dramatically changed the PGA Tour in 1969. I mean, the tour that's operating today is because of what Arnie and Jack did in 69.
I remember when Sirius Radio announced a merger with XM Radio, and they were going to come up with a new name.
You know, and HBO is going to start a streaming service. They're going to come up with a new name too.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm just saying. I read the press release because I was doing iHeart yesterday, and I had to do the report. And in the report, it said it's a name that's still to be announced. And my whole point is, I will not stand in the way of anyone who is angered by this. I totally get it, and I totally understand the hypocrisy that went on, considering what the PGA commissioner said last year. I totally get that. But if you're saying that you're not going to watch a sport because of that, where does it stop? And
well, that's where I am, Seth, because I liken this to, and it may be a terrible example, but when everybody went bat blank crazy over Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the anthem and players then kneeling in the anthem, and it became political, and the NFL's ratings went down. It's a fact that the kneeling and the fallout from that caused ratings to drop. They've got all the back. Everybody that left is back, and they've added some. Yeah. And that's the same thing I see happening with golf right now. Is this is a short term, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Maybe. I mean, the thing with the Premier League, I paid a lot of attention to it, right? And people say, Manchester City, they overspent. They bought all these players because in that system, there's no draft. You just buy players. You literally buy players, and that's how you fortify your roster. And they overspent by like $100 million to get the best roster. And people are offended by that. Well, the only thing that I could say from a fan standpoint is, boy, it'd be great to beat them. It's David versus Goliath. That's my attitude on it. I'm not going to not watch the sport.
Well, how many people do you know, if anyone? You're the biggest soccer fan of the three of us by far.
Oh,
right?
It's not a huge distinction, but yeah.
Well, it's a fact, though. It was a statement of fact.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know anyone who didn't watch the World Cup because of where it was held?
I do know people who did. And I was against it. Arsenal's best player got hurt it was in the middle of the season, where it's normally supposed to be in the summer. And I was adamant. It's a joke. It's wrong. There's a whole documentary about how corrupt FIFA is, and there were trials, and they were found to be corrupt.
Yes,
these people are in jail, and they didn't they didn't relocate the World Cup. They kept it in Qatar or whatever.
Well,
whatever
because of signed contracts, Seth. It doesn't matter if the people who signed
no matter how corrupt it was,
are criminals, right?
They did it anyway, right? And people, again. Hundreds of millions of people watched it, and they're thrilled about it, and people move on. And where was the Olympics? The Olympics were in China 2 times. They were in Beijing in less than 20 years.
They were in Russia, and we knew that literally as soon as the Olympics ended, he was going to go get Crimea. I mean, as it was happening, we knew what was going to happen as soon as the closing ceremony.
As soon as the Olympics were over. So that's the only thing that I can say. If you choose to say that global politics or sociological issues or political issues, whatever it is, if that bothers you to the extent where it encroaches on your sport, then you are well within your right to walk away with the sport. But if you want, I'll give you 5 more examples. And if you want to talk about the pride jerseys again, there were people who didn't watch hockey because they wore those pride jerseys. And where does it stop? And you can take this to the umpteenth level. And that's the thing with this merger, is how much is this going to affect people? Now, I did hear, because I'd listened a little bit this morning to WFAN, and this is New York, and the 9/11 families are very, very vocal, and they are well within their right to do so. And they are offended by this, and I get it, and I understand. That's all I can say is I understand.
But where does it go from here is really the question. And what's next to you, Seth? I'd seen people saying, is tennis vulnerable? You've already brought up Premier League soccer. We don't have Saudi groups that own NBA and NHL and Major League Baseball teams, but it can't be that far off, can it, Seth?
No, it's not. It's not. And it's a global sport. The NBA is a global brand. players are coming in from all over.
Well, but also it's because of how much these franchises now go for. I mean, let's face it, not everybody. I mean, how
Not every
many
billionaire
people
wants to buy a team?
Yeah, how many people can stroke a check? And all these leagues have rules where if you're trying to buy whatever the team is, I mean, the Ottawa Senators are going to go for $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's a joke. You've got to have the cash. How many people have the cash?
Well, that's right. And, the irony is the second tier. So the Saudis are the top tier in the Premier League, but the second tier are all American owners. Kroenke owns Arsenal. John Henry owns Liverpool, the Red Sox owner. You see all these American owners and they say, well, that's the influx of American cash. So to Mark, to your question, it's when is it cyclical? When does it come the other way? I mean, the Premier League literally just held the open door. Anybody want in? Come on in. And you just wonder if there's a governing body. Like, does the NCAA run all of this? That's sarcasm.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends Hall of Justice. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Quick transition. If you owned the A's, where would you move your team to?
Guam.
Now, where do you think? I mean, is there a city out there that you're pretty sure? Okay, because remember, if I'm an expansion city, like if I'm Portland, I may not get an expansion franchise. I'm Salt Lake. And it's going to cost me more than it would to buy the A's.
Yeah. Yes. Portland would be wonderful. You'd have the natural rivalry. Sure. The situation with Oakland, what they have done. I did a podcast last week with Damon Bruce, who for years was on the A's flagship station. So he knows it intimately. He said that it doesn't get publicized. That's the worst ownership group. A lot of people talk about Baltimore and Angelos and that situation. That's the worst ownership group in sports. The Oakland A's. What they have done to that franchise is just abominable. They took an eyesore and they made it a disaster, and it's pretty awful. Any city that wants to make a claim that has a ballpark. Remember, the last time they relocated, it was because RFK Stadium existed. They built Nationals Park, remember, but the reason why Washington got the team, because the Orioles allowed it, but secondly was because they had an existing ballpark that they could go to. If any of these places have a stadium, they would go to the front of the line.
Sports with Friends Hall of Justice. What do you got, Seth?
Mike Vaccaro from the New York Post. He's a longtime New York columnist for over 30, 40 years. He recently had the bottom half of his left leg amputated, and he says it's a good thing. And he recently just played a round of golf, and he wrote an inspiring column about it, and I put him on the podcast. He's a great guy. We get into a great NBA conversation. He also talks a lot about New York sports and how weird it is that the Mets outspend the Yankees. It's a neat podcast, but it's an inspiring conversation. He dealt with diabetes, but he also had staph infections and ankle injuries and all kinds of stuff. And the best solution was to amputate his leg. And it's just a wild, wild story and a good guy. And I was thrilled to put him on the podcast. Hall of Justice will be the review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the outstanding sequel. It was released last week, and that will be put together some point today. that will be the podcast. I promise you that.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends Hall of Justice. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, who knew you'd have to break out the masks again, but you need it for the fires, and good luck to your kids in their final 2 weeks of school.
Yeah, that's what they've said. People, if you're going to be outside for an extended time, wear a mask. Who knew those things would come in handy?
I know. We'd see that video in Japan and China and think it would never happen here.
Yeah.
But Seth, good luck.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Seth Everett, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. And if you'll be leaving us within the next minute, what a show it's been. Bud Elliott, Mark Lai, Seth Everett. You missed any of it? Download our podcast at floridasportsnetwork.com, floridasportsnetwork.com.
Mark Lai was on fire this morning. He is fired up. Be sure, if you missed it, to download that portion of the show. And we want to thank Mark and Seth and Bud Elliott, as always, for joining us on the show. We're done for the syndicated part of the show. Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The bonus hour in the 239. That is next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Benny, I don't know how yesterday's show wasn't up. We didn't do anything different, and I certainly didn't take it down. So it should be. If not, you can always check YouTube.
Paul, who's CK? Who are you talking about? That was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Benny. So we got an 8 and an 8:38 and a 9 tomorrow. So I'm trying to get like Bob Harrig for 7:38.
trying to get somebody who I think's in Toronto and is going to be at the Rory presser, and also another day of talking to the guys and what have you. So whether it's Sobel or Harrig, somebody like that. So I'm hoping we're jammed tomorrow. By the way, there's game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. Thank you, Emo. And so we've got a Panthers guest tomorrow at 8:38. I'll get somebody with the Heat for Friday. Game 4 is Friday.
It's on YouTube. Show's always been on YouTube, Ammo. We just kind of push the Twitch because we don't get paid by YouTube. We don't make that much on Twitch, but at least we make something. We make enough to pay for the website and the Twitch and the software that we need, and probably each get a really good dinner a year out of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not joking. I mean, it pays for all the expenses of Miller and Moulton. It pays for our taxes for our little LLC. And at the end of the day, that's about what we get out of it.
Well, Baby Jules, you probably should download his Nothing Personal today. I'm sure it was dominated by it, and he just got done with it because he tapes it live at 8 a.m. So I'm sure it'll be posted soon. Not a ton. Okay. First off, it's a little long for me. He does 40, 45 minutes on average. And also, now I would listen a lot more if we didn't have him.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't want, I want it to be fresh. That's for us.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, on this hump day. We are getting over it together. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Miss any part of what's already been a terrific show. Bud Elliott, Mark Lai, 2 segments with Mark, and then Seth Everett. Hey, do you know the NBA Finals are going on tonight?
A monster game 3.
Right. I'm telling you, if the Heat only have one more win in them, I want it to be tonight. I so want them to put Denver. Denver put the Heat in a spot they hadn't been in. They hadn't trailed in a series.
Right.
And so now can Miami put Denver in a spot where they haven't been in? Think about what it would be like Friday if it's 2-1 Miami.
Well, look at one thing that has been the same in games 1 and game 2. There's been a few things that have been the same in game 1 and game 2, even though a different team won each game. Miami has had incredibly open looks from beyond the arc in both games. They just didn't make them in game 1. So can Denver do something defensively to contest Miami's 3-point shooters? Because they haven't in games 1 or 2. They just haven't. Miami just missed them all in game 1. Was it 15 open threes in game 1 that they missed? Something like that, David?
16.
Okay. I was off by 1.
Right. Because they were 13 of 39, and they made them in the fourth quarter. That's the other thing that's happened, Mark, if you want to talk about 2 things that have happened in both games. The Heat have won the fourth quarter by 10 or more points both times. The road team in the altitude, this was supposedly a factor. All right. Now, the Heat were down 21 going to the fourth in game 1, won it by 10, ended up losing by 11. They're down 6, right? Or 8 going to the fourth quarter in game 2. They win it by 11. They win by 3.
And Denver's not been able to score the way they normally do. 104 in their win, 108 in their loss. That's not offensively where Denver expects to be. Credit that to Miami's defense. Who's going to be the other scorer? Can Murray get back on track? Does Caldwell Pope play a bigger role in this game? Where are they going to get the scoring? Because to me, and we've talked about this before, David, I set the number at 110. Can Miami keep Denver under 110? So far, they're 2 for 2.
Yeah. You said before the series started, I want to see if the Heat can keep them under 110. And if they do, they'll win the series. Now, you didn't think they'd do it. You picked the Nuggets, and you thought that they were just better. And during the regular season, goodness knows they were. But here we go. Denver going on the road even. That hasn't happened in the playoffs. When they went to Minnesota, they were up 2-0. They went to Phoenix, they were up 2-0. They went to LA, they were up 2-0. Okay. And remember, they've never been in the finals before. Does that play any sort of role? Now, they've had a lot of time to regroup, though. We're in the part where, we had 3 days in between games 1 and 2, and now 3 days in between 2 and 3. Not nearly as much time in between 3 and 4. Just only 1 day off. So, okay. It's go time now. Ryan in our Twitch chat room says winner tonight wins the series.
I disagree with that.
I
think
do
Miami
as well.
can win the game and Denver can win the series.
And vice versa, by the way, because I think if Denver wins tonight, that Miami, for what it's worth, I thought the series was going to be 1-1, 2-2. I'm halfway to being right.
I think if the Heat win tonight, they're winning the NBA Finals.
Okay. You agree with Ryan. Now, let me ask you this. If they lose tonight, do you think Denver's winning the NBA Finals?
Not quite, because they could even it up easily in Game 4.
And if Miami wins, Denver can't win Game 4?
I think the Heat are winning the NBA Finals is what I'm saying.
Well, and you did pick them in 7. That is true.
I think it's going to be a really close series.
Well, hey, so far, we've had one good game out of 2. Mark, what we've also had, though, people are watching. The worst case scenario for the NBA was the Denver-Miami final. It's doing the same numbers so far through 2 games that Celtics-Warriors did last year. That's a good sign for the NBA. Adam Silver about to sit down with ESPN Turner and the boys and negotiate a new deal. That's a good week for Adam Silver.
People like the Heat, and people love Jimmy Butler.
I don't know. Maybe
in Miami they do.
Yeah,
not nationally.
I think nationally people are warming up to the Heat and Jimmy Butler, especially.
I think it's more the Heat and Jokic. I do think so. The sports fan around the country, the average sports fan who's not a huge NBA fan, okay, if you've been paying attention the last 6 weeks, I do think you've gone, wow, this Heat run is something. We don't normally see something like this. Okay. And you might have just jumped on late in which you're like, oh my goodness, they're on verge of blowing a 3-0 lead. But also, I do think this Jokic thing is a bit of a, I don't want to say phenomenon, but it's
a unicorn. It is. It is a phenomenon. It is a unicorn. We've not seen a player like this.
Well, no doubt. And it's fresh for a lot of the newcomers, because a lot of people are just finding out about Jokic.
Felipe, it's fresh for NBA. No. Outside of hardcore NBA fans. Okay. Because remember, the only time they had gotten out of the first round was in the bubble. Well, first off, nobody watched the bubble. I mean, the ratings were half of what the ratings are now in the bubble. Okay, so people didn't know that Denver came from 3-1 down in the second round to beat the Clippers. They have no idea. They're going, man, this Jokic, this Nuggets. Who's Jamal Murray? Now, the hardcore NBA fans not, but
I mean, he was a 2-time MVP, 2021, 2022.
But once again,
Felipe, you are a diehard NBA fan. You take everything personally when we challenge you on the NBA.
They know their name.
They don't. No, they didn't till this year. They really didn't. First off, people in this country, the American sports fan doesn't give a damn about awards anymore. Now, the NBA is obsessed with the MVP award. They are. I mean, when I turned on NBA radio for 2 months, that's all they talked about. They didn't talk about the final 30 games of the regular season. All they did was talk about Embiid, Giannis, or Jokic. That's all they talked about.
It's the MVP race, as
Whatever.
they call it. But people knew about Jimmy Butler last year, and years prior, I think, as well.
Maybe, but remember, you're hardcore. Okay, we pay far more attention, Miller and Moulton do, than the average sports fan. And right now, we're only broadcasting in Southwest Florida. Southwest Florida doesn't watch the NBA. Period. And if they do, they watch the Heat a little bit, but they watched it a lot more when LeBron was there. They only watch it a little bit now. And then you've got your pockets. We got a lot of Boston fans, okay, but people don't watch the NBA in Southwest Florida, Felipe. Trust me, we know the ratings. They do not watch the NBA in Southwest Florida.
And I'll be curious because the Heat are the biggest reason for them to watch. And we're now generations of Heat, multiple generation of Heat fans. And they have, people from the East Coast who moved here. I've noticed more Heat stuff when I was picking up my daughter the last couple of days and seeing Heat flags and Heat bumper stickers and Heat license plates. But you're not on the other coast.
Well, I mean,
they like college basketball more than they like the NBA on this coast. And it's not close.
I get that. And I know a lot of people didn't watch the bubble, but who were the stars of the bubble?
I have no idea.
LeBron James, Jimmy Butler.
Felipe,
those are the stars of the bubble.
Felipe, if we could somehow accurately poll the sports fans in the 239 and ask them, what do you remember about the bubble?
They would say John Travolta, the boy in the bubble movie.
Exactly.
Or they would say Jimmy Butler.
You would be stunned how people would not even know we were talking about the NBA. Another thing I'm going to throw out there, and I don't normally do this, okay? Jokic is white. I'll bet you there are a few people paying attention who don't normally pay attention because of that fact. Been a long time since there's been a white guy who's kicked ass in the NBA. Okay? That's a factor. I'm telling you right now, it's the reason he didn't win the MVP this year. I believed it at the time when it was happening. I think Kendrick Perkins and others played the race card. Okay? And they basically said, hey, all you players, all you black members of the media, okay, no way we're letting this white guy who's not named Larry Bird win 3 straight MVPs.
Well, let me ask you guys something, because I was 11 years old during the 2011 finals. Was there a similar vibe for the Dirk phenomenon?
No.
Not really?
Not even close.
No. You know what the vibe was? You had those that loved the super team that came together. The Beatles, if you were, that came together in Miami. And then you had most of the rest of everybody who was rooting against LeBron and Wade and Bosh.
Right. So it's not that they were rooting for Dirk. It's that they wanted the Heat to lose.
Correct.
Yes, they were rooting against the Heat.
But what about Dirk on the come up? Not really?
No, not at all.
Well, Jokic, I think.
This is a totally different guy.
Jokic is light years ahead of Dirk. No, with all due respect to Dirk Nowitzki, I mean, he's one of the greatest European players ever.
Yeah, no. Nobody cared about the Dallas Mavericks. Nobody. No. People didn't watch that final because of Dallas. They watched that final because of LeBron and the Heat. And it was like you either rooted for or against the Yankees. That's what that finals was all about. I mean,
21,000's the text line, 21000. Some of the texts we're getting right now. Joker is awesome. I'm a massive sports fan. I've never seen a Joker game until the past month and a half. No, I'm just only knew Jimmy Butler because he was a 76ers. Never heard of any Nuggets until finals.
I just got a text from a Heat fan that said I didn't watch any of the bubble. I mean, I'm just telling you, Felipe. You're as we call in the radio business, you're the P1. You're listening to the station/show no matter what. I've told you personally, you should work for the NBA.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know people had their indifferences with the bubble and everything going
No,
on.
no, no, Felipe,
How
you're
call yourself a Heat fan if you didn't watch the bubble?
Felipe. First off, there were a few things going on in our world in the spring and summer of 2020.
I know.
No. It was real easy to not watch sports if you didn't want to. We were worried about day to day surviving, paying. What going on?
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. That's still what's going on this show. We thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Back with more in a moment.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Larry, I do want to ask you, do you feel the same way about the Lightning? Like, there are a lot of people that won't give the Lakers credit for their championship in the bubble, and I think it's an anti-LeBron thing. So do you hold the same feelings towards the Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup?
And here's why I hate COVID so much. And I know there's obviously so many more important reasons as to why, but that 2020 season was one of the greatest seasons I have ever seen of NBA basketball in my entire life until March 11th, 2020. I mean, it was incredible. All 8 seeds in the West were, I'm not going to say title contenders, but really good teams. Yet we all knew that the Lakers were the best team. I mean, the way that the Lakers were playing that year, bubble or not, they were winning it. And then the Heat were amazing. They had one of the best home records in the NBA.
Canada Relief, please tell me that's a joke.
We're just waiting until now to talk NBA Finals.
Yeah, we literally did not do a segment on it.
No.
But we got 45 minutes on the bubble there. We got more bubble talk than we need for the next 10 years. Stop. Felipe,
I'll stop with the bubble.
I can't say this any more directly. Nobody cares.
I'll stop with the bubble.
Nobody cares.
I just wanted to
No, but nobody you've got Felipe, you've been getting the point across for a year and a half.
Yes, I know that just people
enough.
People
Nobody cares about the bubble.
People have known about Jimmy Butler longer, and the bubble is part of the reason why. That's All I'm saying.
If you say so.
Giving LeBron work in the finals is worth something in my eyes.
I can look you dead in the eye and tell you I didn't watch a second of the bubble final.
Cool. History is history. And he gave LeBron work in the NBA finals.
It's great.
Work.
Himself, Penny.
Yes, I am speaking out loud at this point.
By the way, the Pope's having significant surgery.
Yeah. He's trying to combine with the Jews to form a super league.
Now that would be a merger.
That's something.
That would be a merger.
I just wanted to make sure you heard it. There was enough of a pause there. I don't know if you heard it or freaked.
That would be.
Yeah, that last segment right in the middle of it, David, we kind of blacked out because the whole building's power went off and on for a second.
Well, I was wondering what was going on there. I saw your lights flickered, and I went, "Oh wow, I've never seen that before." Right.
Although, and what's her name? That on B103 in the morning, super nice.
Maria
just came back. She says, "Your studio cold?" I'm like, "Our studio is always freezing."
Right.
We're coming back.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Game 3 NBA Finals tonight, 8:30 ABC, series tied at 1. Blades tonight, trying to go up 3-0. They got tonight, they got Friday, hoping not to play Saturday, unless you're the front office. And then you're like, well, if you guarantee me we wrap this thing up Saturday, I'd like the extra date.
Yeah, I'd like them to do to Idaho what Idaho did to the Everblades so many years ago. I'd like to see the Blades win tonight, lose game 4, and win in game 5. Give them all their gates, give them big crowds, huge attendance, huge concessions, and get this thing over with by Saturday.
Hell of a run by the Blades. Hell of a run. Not as good a regular season as they often have, but have put it together in the playoffs. Have won a bunch of road games. Bunch. I mean, they've
I don't even have to apply for a press pass for tonight.
Look at you.
I'll do it Friday or Saturday. If I go, it'll be Friday or Saturday.
But the Blades have won 4 in a row on the road, now hoping to at least take 2 out of 3 at home and win Kelly Cup number 3. Nice little run back to back. So
it's an ECHL dynasty.
Well, could certainly argue they've been the best franchise in the league over the last quarter century. I mean, they've had a winning season every year, a playoff appearance every year but one. How many trips to the finals is this now? I mean, this is 6th trip, right? They lost the 2 in the last 2 seasons you were there. Okay, we saw them lose the game 7
Right.
1 year. Obviously, the year they won it. And now this is back-to-back. I mean, that's once every 4 years, basically, going to the finals. They've been in like 3 other conference finals when they've been eliminated. I mean, certainly make the case to the best franchise in the league.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, there's been a lot of new franchises added since I left, but they are the standard bearer in the league and have been for quite some time.
So 7:30 tonight, they dropped the puck at Hertz. Blades looking to go up 3-0, win Cup number 3. Biggest story in sports, though, obviously, happened about 23 and a half hours ago. I will say, we had just got done taping our promo for today's show, too. Okay, and so, what do we got? Well, we're going to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so and preview Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And
Done
then
one segment on Game 3 of the NBA Finals so far.
Right, and not during our syndicated part of the show either, that most people hear the promo of. And you tape the promo and you're done, and 6 minutes later, you're on Twitter and you're like, man, that promo we just recorded, we are not going to talk about most of it. Holy blank, the PGA Tour and the LIV are merging. I am surprised. I learned something today. I did not see it in the news yesterday. I did not realize the PGA Tour is changing its name. I'm surprised.
The Saudis own the tour now.
To some degree, absolutely. They are the large amount of money behind the tour now. I get it. I am surprised they're changing the name, though.
Well, I didn't read it as they were changing the name. I read it's the possibility that there's a name change. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing, David.
I'm just saying, of all the things I'm willing to consider, I don't want, if I'm in Jay Monahan's inner circle, I'm like, listen, yeah, we'll take a PR hit, the whole deal. This too shall pass. It really will. Okay, look at European soccer. Trust me, this will pass. Okay, we'll have all the guys playing again, more money than ever before. Okay, it doesn't matter if we have sponsors that bail on us. We'll have so much money to overcome it. Okay, we'll be fine. And quite frankly, we can make the European Tour again. I got to be honest, there's so much money here. I'm wondering, does any of it start to go the LPGA's way? I mean, the PGA Tour in the last 10 years and the LPGA have begun to kind of coexist together when the PGA Tour spent much of the 30 years before that trying to bury it. Now they're actually kind of sort of, look what they're doing in Naples in December.
Right. The QBE is now a combined event.
Right. PGA Pros and LPGA Stars. So I'm wondering, now that the PGA Tour is taking the Saudi money, if you're the LPGA Tour, even though it's a little more complicated there, after all, they're not exactly pro-women in that part of the world. Okay. But think of the money they're not playing for, though. And the women have said that. The women are like, this is a real quandary for us because we ain't making in the area code. I mean, we're not even in the same sport as the PGA Tour when you look at it financially. And if all of a sudden they want to start throwing those shekels our way, that's a tough decision for us. And see, to me, Mark, if they change the name of the tour, that is announcing that the Saudis own the tour.
Which is something I don't think that they would really want to do, even if they do own the tour, David. I would think they would want to keep it, if you're going to sport wash the thing, then make it the PGA Tour.
Right.
If that's the intent of this, I would want to keep the same name. If I'm the Saudis, I would too.
Because the other reason I want to, if I'm the PGA Tour, is I do think worldwide this is going to help me. I mean, the LIV drew big crowds in Australia. The 2 times they've had events in the Far East, they've drawn crowds. Because, well, PGA Tour doesn't really do anything there. They're not interested. It's largely, overwhelmingly an American tour. I mean, that's why you and I have been stunned that the DP World Tour has gotten in bed the way they have with the PGA Tour in the last few years. I mean, the PGA Tour systematically ruined the DP World Tour. mean, the European tour a quarter century ago was a legit tour. The top Europeans played on it. They moonlighted over in the States.
And then the States and the PGA Tour said, if you want to be a member of our tour, you have to play X number of events and keep your card. And they basically told the European players, if you want to be on this tour, you've got to commit full time to this tour. And most did.
But you think this is going to work out? Like, you think next year at this time, this will be a blip on the golf scene?
Yep. I do. I think this will work out just fine. You know, David, what's the book you always reference about the outrage, the death of outrage?
Yep. Bill Bennett, The Death of Outrage.
Our outrage is superficial. I have likened this from the moment I heard it and the way everybody was outraged yesterday, including my mother, who told me she was done with golf, to all the people who told me they were done with the NFL because players were kneeling during the anthem. The NFL's ratings have never been higher. More people are watching the NFL than ever before. All those that left, if they didn't come back, and it's possible some didn't come back, but by the numbers, most did. And if they didn't, they were replaced by a new audience. Golf audience is pretty small to begin with. The hell are they going to watch?
I'm wondering, like, your mom, does she watch women's golf?
No.
Would she possibly? Because obviously she's a golf fan. Okay. Would she now? I mean, I'm wondering, if have a discussion with your mom and say, hey, listen, there's this 20-year-old American. She did something hadn't been done in 72 years last week. You know, instead of watching the guys, how about you support the LPGA Tour? Start watching them.
And that's a lot easier than trying to get a list of the companies that she probably does business with that are owned by the Saudis.
Right.
But that's where I was going initially, David.
Oh, wow. You were going to hit her where she lived.
Yeah.
You were going to show her what a hypocrite she was, and she didn't realize it.
Was my first intent. The kind of son I am, David.
How about you pitch Rose Zhang first? You could always fall back to the hypocrite part. U.S. Women's Opens in 3 weeks.
I'm just invited her to dinner every Sunday. I'm going to have the PGA Tour on just to see us. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. All right. I don't know who this is, a checkmarked account, but I don't know. It's PFFFC, whatever that is saying MLS and Inter Miami are in advanced talks with Messi. He has decided that he wants to join the MLS. BBC Sport, Messi will join Miami this summer.
The funny part about all this Messi coverage is that no one actually knows what the hell is going on.
Well, it's exactly, and this all started because there's somebody that was retweeted that, Jenny Chu, who covers football, covers soccer. She says, "This is a great reminder why verified accounts, random accounts reporting news, and just trying to figure out whether this is true or not. No one really knows."
Wait, what is true?
This Messi thing, because is it reported or did a bunch of news?
I thought I thought the Athletic at like 11 o'clock last night reported it. That the MLS and the Miami franchise were working together to put their best offer in front of Messi.
Right, but it's saying that Messi's choosing the MLS, right? I mean, there are report
Oh.
on Twitter right now. BBC Sport is saying Messi's coming to Miami.
Oh, okay.
And this person is just questioning: Are we jumping on reports? Do we have anything? It's just
I won't believe it until
I'm with you, Felipe.
I won't believe it until Messi makes a post himself saying, "I am going to Inter Miami."
Because I've always thought he's just using Inter Miami. I mean, I thought he came out a couple days ago and said he wanted to go back to Barca.
David, Barca.
It's Barca.
Come on. Barca. I would love for Messi to go back to Barca. I'd love for him to go to Inter Miami, but I think I'd like him to go back to Barca.
Oh, I'd much rather him go to Inter Miami. I would find a way to pay to see him play.
It'd get people to watch the MLS, I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, you know who, yeah, Adam, we got that. Listen, you think Apple is maybe throwing some money into the pot to try to get Messi to Miami?
Ooh.
They have exclusive rights to the MLS broadcast and nobody's signing up for him?
Yeah. Ooh, that would be, that would be big.
It's time to start trying to work together to make things better together as a whole. I have deep sympathy. I don't know exactly what they're feeling. I can't ever know what they feel, but I have a huge amount of respect for their position and what they believe.
So Bryson went on CNN last night for.
Again, I think as we move forward from that, we've got to look towards the pathway to peace, especially in forgiveness, especially if we're trying to mend the world and make it a better place. I think this is what they're trying to.
Make the world a better place for playing golf.
She was asked about 9/11 families.
Oh, got it.
Great entertainment for everybody around the world.
It's not just about 9/11. Does it make you uncomfortable at all? Because it's not just that they're accused of financing terrorism.
He took the money. Obviously, he's not uncomfortable with it. He took over $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's unfortunate what has happened, and that's something I cannot necessarily.
I'm a golfer. I play golf for a living.
Yeah, you go on CNN. What do you expect questions to be?
Well, but this is that's a year-old story. He shouldn't be asking him questions. The question should be, PGA Tour, are you uncomfortable getting into bed with these guys?
Nobody from PGA Tour is going on CNN.
Well, but I mean, that it's a year-old question for Bryson. Now, what's a legitimate question is to say, listen, you suffered a backlash leaving the PGA Tour and going to the LIV because of the money behind the LIV. How much of a backlash do you think the PGA Tour going forward is going to have?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. By the way, we are hoping tomorrow during this bonus hour to talk to Frankie Kappen, the former FGCU golfer who qualified for the U.S. Open and did so with his mom on the bag. So, hoping to have him on the show tomorrow during this hour of the show.
David, you reported it in the starting five, but there's a lot of Twitterverse out there saying that Messi's coming to Miami.
Because what I reported 3 hours ago was that the Athletic had a story last night right around midnight that said the MLS and Inter Miami have put their best offer together, and they've put it in front of Messi. And Messi has to decide between the MLS and returning to Barcelona. But the word was that Messi wanted to go back to Barcelona. So now, and it's tougher, obviously, to verify things on Twitter now than it was a few months ago. You know, like yesterday, I paused for 8 to 10 minutes before I accepted that the LIV PGA Tour thing was real. It's just because it's on CNBC's account, I got to spend a couple minutes making sure it's actually CNBC's account.
And that's why, I mean, I'm seeing BBC Sport reporting it. I'm seeing a lot of different entities reporting this, but until Messi says he's playing for Miami, I don't know if I believe it.
All right, I'm going to throw this out there. How much of the money do you think that is coming from the MLS is actually coming from Apple? I mean, the MLS entered into a 10-year exclusive broadcast rights deal with Apple TV. You have to pay to see MLS games. And the word is not a lot of people have been buying the package. Mark, I'll say this. And obviously, you know, I used to live 15 minutes from you, and now I live 5 hours and 15 minutes from you. But I'm not just saying this if I still lived in the 239. I'm saying this living in Jacksonville. I would go see Messi play in person.
Absolutely.
I'd make a 5-hour drive down I-95 to see Messi play. I'd make a day and night of it. I would. Even at this stage of his life and career, I would.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1936, Lucky Luciano's convicted on 62 counts of compulsory prostitution.
Whatever.
Right. That's just where we started today. 37, Time magazine publishes only the second of 2 known photos taken of the Supreme Court in session.
How the hell did they get that exclusive?
Someone snuck in a cell phone. 1955, Eisenhower becomes the first president to appear on color TV.
Yeah, but Kennedy was the first one to look good on it.
There's no doubt there. This one's for you, David. Today in 66, the Mets select high school catcher Steve Chilcott with the first overall pick in the draft.
Yep.
Bypassing on this guy named Reggie Jackson.
Yep. Reginald Martinez Jackson went number 2. Correct. And so when Reggie homered off Seaver to win Game 6 of the 73 World Series, when the Mets were a few outs away from clinching, okay, that draft choice became even more prominent, Mark.
Today in 69, Blind Faith had their debut performance in Hyde Park with Eric Clapton and Steve Winwood among the members of that band. Today in 75, John Denver hits number 1 in the land with Thank God I'm a Country Boy. And somewhere, old Everblades assistant coach P.K. O'Hanley's got a little smile on his face, tapping his foot. Today in 76, the NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor and David Brinkley premieres. 77, this is rock and roll right here. The Queen's Jubilee is going on in London. The Sex Pistols attempt to perform on a boat on the Thames, but are stopped by the police. That's punk rock right there, David. 78, the Bullets defeat the Sonics in 7.
In Seattle, for 31 years in American pro sports, that was the last road team to win a Game 7. From 78 to the Penguins in 09. I mean, think about all the NBA series. You know, the Lakers beat Detroit in 7. Boston beat LA in 7. I mean, just although the Pirates, actually, it was the Bullets in 78 and then the Pirates in the 79 World Series against the Orioles. Those were the last 2 road teams to win Game 7s. It lasted for 30 years.
In 80, Chrissy wins the French for her 10th Grand Slam singles crown. In 81, Borg wins the French for his 11th and final Grand Slam title, beating Lendl in 5.
McEnroe would beat him a month later at Wimbledon, and then Borg was done within a year.
Today in 1993, Prince changed his name to a symbol. Did it on his birthday, too. 97, the Wings end their drought. Their first cup since 1955, sweeping the Philadelphia Flyers. 2004, the Lightning take down the Flames in Game 7 for their first ever Stanley Cup victory.
And the last hockey game we would see for about a year and a half.
2018, the Caps win in 5 over Las Vegas. Jessica Tandy, Dean Martin, longtime friend of the show, Bert Sugar, Thurman Munson, and Prince would have all celebrated birthdays today. Tom Jones is 83, Cassie Russell 79, Liam Nielsen 71, Mike Pence is 64, Dave Navarro is 56, Mike Madonna is 53, Allen Iverson is 48, Anna Kournikova is 42, Keegan Bradley is 37, and Christian McCaffrey is 26.
By the way, I didn't think about this. Pence announced yesterday he was running for president. I didn't realize he's the first guy who was vice president to run for president against the guy he served as vice president of. It makes sense when you think about it. You know, most people don't challenge.
Run on the same ticket, right?
Right,
Yep.
exactly. So anyway.
Did I miss anything?
In 1976, on this day, it was then called New York Magazine. I think it's now renamed New Yorker. Okay. They ran a story about young people struggling to make it in the arts and entertainment business, and they brought the disco world to light, if you will, in New York Magazine. It became the basis for the Saturday Night Fever movie, all because of an article printed on this day in 76.
Well, today in NBA history, sorry, had to go there, but do you remember that 1998 NBA Finals, The Last Dance, Jordan?
Right, in Utah, yeah.
Yeah. Remember how Utah scored 54 points in one of those games? Still a record for the fewest points in a playoff game in NBA history. Bulls win 96-54, one of the most lopsided playoff games you'll ever see.
It is funny if you look back at the scores in the late 90s to some of the Bulls NBA championships, and obviously we think back about Michael and the Bulls and we think of it so fondly. I mean, some of those games were in the 80s.
Well, one, we didn't shoot the three-pointer. It was part of the league, but it wasn't what it is now.
And the league was so physical.
Right.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I start today with a follow-up. Jacob Percival is the young man who jumped into the alligator habitat in Busch Gardens. He was arrested yesterday. For the good, we'll go to Orlando, where Altavoice Morris has won $1 million, not once, but twice in the same lottery game. About a month and a half apart. She's won 2 $1 million prizes from scratch-off tickets. Good for her. For the bad, we go to Germany, where the German court has given an 82-year-old man a last warning to avoid jail time. He was found dealing drugs, and he has 24 previous convictions. They still didn't send him to jail. He's selling weed to improve his meager €800 monthly pension. Prosecutors asked the court to impose a prison term of 34 months due to his lengthy criminal record, but the judges made an exception and told him that it's his very last warning. 24 convictions. I don't think he's going to stop.
No. I think that ship sailed.
For the ugly, we go to Providence, Rhode Island, where Benjamin Nadrowski was arrested after breaking into homes to steal sex toys to give as birthday gifts. That's right. He was trying to break into one home when the people told him to leave, and he said he was at the wrong house. They called police, described the car that he got into. They found that car later. And when talking to the man and going through the items in his car, he said he was attempting to buy weed and he was in the wrong location, and when confronted by a homeowner, and then said he stole a sex toy from a bedroom that he was going to give as a birthday present. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, June the 7th, 2023.
So he broke into the house just to steal the sex toy and or buy some weed?
One or the other. I have a problem with him stealing the sex toy and then giving it as a gift.
Yeah, really. For obvious reasons. Don't think we need to explain that, do we?
We don't.
Okay, good. Good. You got a full day of baseball, 2 afternoon games. That's it. Marlins, Mark, it's as if you are handling the Marlins schedule. Do you know when first pitch of the Marlins game is tonight? I think it's because of game 3 of the NBA Finals. They had to have moved this sucker up. It's 6:10.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, there's a chance. I mean, last night's game took like 2:09 because they won 6-1. The Rays game last night took 2:07. I mean, I think the Marlins are trying to get done before opening tip of the NBA Finals, which is 8:30 on ABC, by the way.
They definitely moved it up because on the schedule it says 6:40.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's 6:10. Yeah.
I can't wait to watch the Marlins in the Heat tonight.
Seriously. And Marlins looking for 6 in a row, oh, by the way. And Rays are home for the Twins. What's interesting is the former Marlin is starting for the Twins, and the Rays have an opener. So the line on the Rays is low. They're like a slight favorite tonight. They've lost like 6 home games all year. So, and it's damn near a pick 'em. They're a slight favorite. So Twins Rays at 6:40, Royals Marlins at 6:10.
Would you take a flyer on the Reds winning another one from the Dodgers? Syndergaard's pitching for the Dodgers. He's not really throwing much more than batting practice.
I know, and the Dodgers are minus 165 also.
I know. That's why I thought if there's a game, I'm asking, do you take a flyer on the Reds today? I know they won yesterday in a walk-off. Hard to think they're going to beat the Dodgers again, but
I don't know.
I'll say this. I'm betting the Braves. First off, they're a very slight favorite against the Mets. That's ridiculous. Has anybody been paying attention to this series for the last 25 years? Excuse me. And Charlie Morton's pitching for Atlanta. I know Scherzer going for the Mets. I don't care. Morton's been very effective against the Mets for the last few years. I'm betting the Braves tonight.
So there's a little bit of what's on tap tonight. NBA Finals. Who you got tonight, Felipe?
The Miami Heat.
I got the Heat also. I think it's 2-2 going back to Denver, but I think this thing gets very interesting. Hero doesn't play tonight, by the way. He's ruled out. The college softball's tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN, Florida State, Oklahoma.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your